Online consultation today at hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. hims.com/radio.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
A Gain Scent Bead story. Jim was at the laundromat when he heard his ear said, "Maraca, senor," but his nose said, "Hey, freshest scent ever." Following his nose, Jim found a man pouring a bottle of Gain Scent Beads into the washer. The scent, the freshness. Jim blurted, "Sir, your scent Maraca smell amazing." Actually, Jim, most noses call them Gain Scent Beads. Try Gain Scent Beads. Way fresher than detergent alone.
Tickets for less. Best seats, best prices, no service fees. Shop ticketsforless.com. KOZN Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone.
A crossover is crossover dribble.
Sing for the crossover.
Kyrie Irving, crossover in the lane.
One of the most famous crossovers of all time.
Behind the back, an ankle breaker on Chris Paul.
Crossovers.
Double crossover.
The crossover continues to evolve.
Crossover powered by Everlevel Concrete Repair in Omaha at everlevelconcrete.com. Oh,
that's
guys.
Right. What? Why are you so exasperated?
I'm watching a somber Tiger walk off the golf course.
Oh, come on. We're used to this now.
14 over. He's not going to make the cut. And I don't know if it was because of the conditions, because the wind is whipping, or if he was really teary-eyed because this might have been his last British Open.
He was teary-eyed.
It looked like it looked like he was teary-eyed, but we've been in some serious wind before outside.
Sure.
Sometimes it messes with your eyes where they get a little
wonder what
moist.
the humidity's like out there.
Okay, that makes a little more sense.
But yeah,
what you're saying.
Yeah, it was
because I just got a push notification on my phone from ESPN that Tiger Woods is going to miss the cut, and I'm like, okay, guys,
that's pretty normal.
That's not breaking.
Yeah, we don't need a push notification for that anymore.
14 overs typically not going to have you anywhere.
Is he really?
Yeah, he was 14 over.
Gross.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Well, 7 for each day.
But here's one for you.
So he shot 79.
That's my guy.
Not good, guys.
There
maybe it's time to not do this anymore.
There is some chucklehead out there be like, God, I could have done that there.
Yeah, no, you could not.
No, you couldn't have.
But we don't. He doesn't have to do this anymore. He doesn't owe us anything.
No.
And then what happens when he misses the cut at every single tournament that he plays in? Nick gets sad every time. We can't watch that anymore. I can't watch Nick be sad anymore. I'm like Garrett Nelson at Media Days 2 years ago. I can't look at this guy and be sad.
I feel bad for him.
I feel bad for him.
No, Gary.
I just wish I got my coach back.
I think it was like after 3 yesterday, Tiger was 1 under, and Gary goes, "Man, is he going to do it to me?" And I even said, "No, Gary.
No, he's not.
He's not.
He's not."
And then I think in a blink of an eye, all of a sudden he was 4 over.
Yeah.
It's like, how did that even happen?
He's not. I mean, all you can hope for is that just sometime, hopefully very soon, he just magically puts it all together and like rips off a top 20.
He did in 2019
or something like that. Maybe that was it.
He gave you 2019 at Augusta.
Maybe that was it.
All right,
maybe we should not hold on to this hope anymore.
The real sad thing is, you know what? Tiger Woods 14 over was not the worst. Worse than that was a guy that'll be in the Olympics representing our country, and that is one Wyndham Clark, who's 16 over.
16
and
over.
He's an Olympian.
Yeah, Wyndham. Isn't he like the leader of the captain or something like that? Maybe not.
Are you thinking of Keegan Bradley, the Ryder Cup captain?
I have no idea what I'm thinking of. I'm not sure about the golf.
I just thought it was very funny that Wyndham Clark, who was kind of a controversial pick. A lot of people were like, Bryson DeChambeau should be on representing the U.S.
I like how we talk about Tiger. He's 48 years old.
Yeah, he is. And we're
48. It's not that old.
No, it's not. It's not like he's...
We talk about him like he's Arnold Palmer in 1997.
Yeah.
It's like,
I don't know if he's going to make it.
Arnie, give us one more, man.
Yeah.
Give us
one
one more.
Is he even old enough to be on the senior tour?
Not yet. No, you got to be 50.
Yeah. So
okay.
He's going to have to keep grinding this one out for a couple more years.
He does.
And that he should not go to the senior tour.
No.
He should
That
not
would be
do that.
really, really odd.
Yeah. He should just stop probably playing
You
golf.
see a lot of the olds. We saw them at OCC twice. And then all of a sudden a 50 or 50 plus Tiger Woods would be there. That would be, I mean,
is it Tom Watson still like getting after it on that tour?
Yeah, hell yeah.
He's pretty old.
Now you've golfed with older gentlemen before, right?
Oh yeah.
Is it?
Tom Watson 74.
Yeah. Still pooping drives out there.
Poop.
What? Ernie Els is number one on the.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The Schwab Cup.
Oh yeah.
Is that what it's called? The Schwab Cup?
Yes.
All right.
I believe so.
I did not know that.
Ernie, the sweet swinging Ernie Els.
Yeah.
He's really, played into his age.
Oh, KJ Choi.
That's the best part about playing with an elderly gentleman that just hits fairways. You watch their swing like, how the hell? But they're playing out of the fairway the entire time.
Right down the middle.
I want to be you.
Right down the
Patrick
middle.
Harrington.
Would you rather rather have a really weak looking swing but play from the fairway, or just like this mammoth Herculean? Every now and then when you connect, you actually do hit it straight and long, but most times you're playing either out of the fairway or looking for your ball.
I think where my game is right now, I'm probably somewhere in the middle of that. I don't know where it's going most of the time.
Yeah.
But it's not this gigantic Herculean swing. I do realize that I can, if I cut back a little bit, it probably, my golf game would immediately get better.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna
stand over a ball and your body's like, hell no.
I'm not gonna go up there and look at that tiny little golf ball and not try and send it as far as I can. It's just not in my DNA.
Connor, even at 45, I don't think that.
Yeah,
it's not like, as you get older and wiser and more experienced and you start figuring that part out. No, you really don't.
49th on the Schwab standings right now. Dickie Pride.
Dickie Pride.
Oh, Dickie Pride.
Hell yeah, my man.
Mm-hmm.
49.
That's not me being crass. That's the gentleman's name as it is presented on the standings board.
Dickie Pride.
Dickie Pride.
Dickie Pride. That's awesome. Did you guys ever go to the Senior Open?
I made it to one day of it, I think. I think it was either the Saturday or the Sunday. It's kind of a mess if I remember right.
Yeah.
It was
Was that the day after the storms?
Yeah, but we had to take like a yellow school bus there.
Oh yeah.
From the parking lot.
Yeah.
I didn't like that very much.
Did you go to the first one or the one that was here just not that long ago?
No, it was a long
time
time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the first one.
I prefer the Cox Classic.
Yeah.
So we were just talking about that because we were talking about the Pinnacle Bank Championship and the Cox Classic.
The Cox Classic?
I mean, you didn't even really go for the golf. You went for the people watching it and
Yeah.
what would happen as you got a little bit further along in the day.
And the 19th hole.
And the 19th hole was... that was the crescendo. I mean, that was when it all came to a head. But
years and years of living in the general vicinity of where the Cox Classic was played, I don't think I ever went to a single round of the Cox Classic.
Really?
Yeah, no. I
was
was
one of those things where you like, if you lived in downtown in the College World Series, you're not a big College World Series fan, you just avoid it.
No, I wasn't actively trying to avoid it. It was just there,
Yeah.
I would drive down Maple Street. I'm like, oh yeah, I got, we can watch that on TV if we wanted to right now, but I never felt the need to go in.
Yeah.
It's a rite of passage to get sunburnt, struggle to find parking, and hear the sweet, sweet sounds of Lemon Fresh Day.
That's true. I believe they played multiple nights of the 19th.
Yeah. That was a residency for them.
When's the Indian Hills tournament? Indian Creek, sorry.
Residency. August 8th.
August 8th.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe I'll drive out there.
So what did Lemon Fresh Day do once their residency was closed? I don't think they performed it.
What did they do?
Hit up another bar in town.
By the way, last time I saw Lemon Fresh Day 2 years ago when Lake Cunningham opened their little campground where they have a little stage there. They performed there the weekend, it was like the Friday to kick off the 4th of July.
Primo date.
Oh, that's these
Primo
guys?
venue.
Yeah.
I know these guys.
Oh, of course you do.
I mean, I've seen these
You've
guys.
been to bars in the last 10 years of your life, right?
And gone, why is it so crowded tonight?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Why is
there's
it
a band here.
I have definitely seen all
Why
these.
is Joe's Tavern just randomly crowded on a Friday night? Well, chances are Lemon Fresh Day was performing.
I think I've met all of these people
Sure.
just randomly out there in the public.
I'm sure you have. They're a staple.
Nice. I great. Excellent. Lemon Fresh Day.
You sound like sit there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Okay.
They got a private party tonight. Oh, they're at Funplex tomorrow.
Oh, that sounds like a Lemon Fresh Day venue.
72nd Q, dude.
Yep. That's going to be good. You know what's crazy, though? Okay, so I'm 45. They were a thing before I even turned 21. So they've been doing this for a very long time.
Hey, if you can make a living out of it, you just do it. Now, do they have regular old jobs, maybe?
I mean, they have to, right?
I don't know.
I would think so.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know how much it pays to be in Lemon
What's going
Fresh
on with this
Day.
kid right here? Is that his real hair?
I don't think so.
Oh.
No.
Why is he wearing a visor with a very curly, very, very robust curly wig?
Well, the visors with the wigs are back. Did you see that guy at the Trump thing?
So many props in the crowd.
I did. So when you could get the visor with the spiky hair?
That was that guy. Yeah.
But that was his real hair, wasn't it? It was, wasn't it? Or was that a prop?
I thought it was one of the visor wigs.
Was it?
That's what I thought. It
matched because you could tell a very proud generation, a very proud culture that we are as gingers. You could tell it matched his gingerness.
Yeah, it did. But it was really straight.
It was, but if that was a prop, he pulled it off very well because I thought I forgot about that prop.
That guy.
It's like the heat miser.
He saw everything, and he had his visor with the wig on and bush light, and he was like, "Here's the deal, BBC. Here's what happened. I'm telling you." And the BBC guy's like, "No, can we hold on here real quick?" He's like, "Nope." I know. He's like, "No, trust me." He got his head blown.
I don't mean to go back to the well on this one, but I'm pretty sure the guy that they interviewed, I'm pretty sure that guy was in the circle pitching slopage softball like a few nights before that. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I've seen that guy come.
Yeah, he's probably hitting his local links the next morning too.
Definitely wears the sunglasses on the back of his head, upside down. We all know that guy.
We do. Now you got me thinking. Was that the wig? Was that the visor wig prop?
That was what I thought, and I haven't given it second thought since. Man. So I'm not sure, but that was what I kind of thought.
Is it coming back, or just one guy never left it?
Yeah, I think it's that. I mean,
have we seen some copycats since when it comes to that prop?
I would say you probably see it a little bit more in SEC country. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But even though that was in Pennsylvania.
Why did that even become a thing, by the way? Why did the visor spiky hair prop even become a thing?
As we know, not all guys can wear just a visor. Maybe you want to wear a visor.
But why the spiky hair?
But you have to have the hair on the top just to cover it up, and it turns into basically a hat. Now, why wouldn't you just wear a hat is a great question.
Right.
I don't have the answer to that, but just throw a little flair into it.
So to your logic on this, that prop was created for people like you and myself that are follically challenged.
I would think so.
For us to experience visor wearing without having to have the weird odd ring above the visor because our dome's going to get burnt.
Yeah, that would not be good. I am not allowed to wear a visor if it doesn't have the.
I only know one guy
on it
who is bald and wears a visor, and you would think, really, I think I know about this guy. I think I know what he's about. Actually, he was a really good dude. And I've never asked him, why do you go with the visor? Why don't you go with the hat?
Oh, I'm sure
but that's just his thing.
I'm sure they're great guys.
Yeah, he was a very good person.
Who's the first person you remember with that look?
Had to have been somebody at the College World Series.
But like the actual look, not the wig and the.
Probably.
Is it like Lane Kiffin, Guy Fieri?
Yeah, probably Lane Kiffin. Because it wasn't always like the moppy.
Like Steve Spurrier always wore a visor, but
he didn't have spiky hair.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Gundy. Before Gundy had the mullet.
Okay.
Remember, he had the visor.
Gundy for sure.
It looked like if you touched the spikes of his hair, you would bleed because those things were pronounced.
Sharp.
So did Gundy start that craze? Did people start making those things based off of Gundy's look?
Well, you bring up a good point, Josh. Like who was the first coach to wear a visor? Who was the first coach to do that? And then it really took off in the late 90s.
For me, it would definitely be Spurrier that I remember the most. Without the spiky
hair.
Had
to have started with college football coaches, right? Trendsetters.
Yeah. And golfers. I mean, remember visors was huge. Now you never see anybody wearing it other than Bubba.
Yeah, there were visors. And he's got the high crown, right? The high crown.
Yeah.
That's a little different.
Doesn't Bubba look like he probably is also own a boat guy?
Yeah.
I think him and for some reason I always thought oh god, I'm just blanking on his name. Ian Poulter also looked like he'd be he's a visor guy.
He's
too.
a visor guy with that. I mean, he's got big hair.
Yeah. He also looks like owns a boat guy where no matter what the temperature is, no matter what's going on, as long as it's boating season, by the time he wakes up, he's on the boat until time the sun goes down, everybody's done. He's boating.
Yeah, like if we put out the poll question right now, does Bubba Watson own a boat? It'd be probably about 93%.
Yeah.
That'd be my guess.
Yeah.
We should try.
Yeah, he's definitely owns a boat guy
just for the sake of trying. Oh, look, here we go. Here's your guy. Here's your guy.
Oh, Nagy. That's not the guy I was talking about. Nagy. Well,
bald
nice
visor.
Guy. I forgot about Nagy wearing a visor. Yeah,
bald visor.
I've tried to forget a lot about the Matt Nagy.
Jed says Doug Peterson. He always looked like he's wearing one of those visor wigs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That is true. Yeah. Yes, because at one point he kind of had a little bit of the not as glistening as Mike Gundy's was before he went mullet, but he had a little bit of a spikiness going.
It's when the hair it's when the hair comes over the front of the visor.
Yeah.
And it flops over the top of the visor. That's when you know. Doug Peterson really pulls it off.
Yeah, he does.
I can't envision Doug Peterson any other way.
Oh, I guess Sean Payton did it too. Sean Payton was a big visor guy.
Sean Payton was a visor guy.
Is Sean Payton still a visor guy? I'm trying to even think.
Oh.
I think he is.
I would have to have watched a Broncos game
to
tell you that.
Does the NFL make visors?
Oh,
anymore?
they sure do.
Sure.
I don't know if they're if there's as much variety as all of the sideline gear that you get.
Look at this Doug Peterson picture from 2020.
Oh, with the mask on.
He has but it's not.
It's like the welder mask.
It's not a mask. It's the shield.
The shield.
Full-on
face
shield.
The face shield was amazing.
And he's got rec specs without the lenses. He's got everything going on in this picture.
Just doing too much with your face. Gundy told the Oklahoman in 2005, I went with the visor because Les Miles, when I was working under him, banned visors because the opposition, aka Oklahoma, wore visors.
Oh yeah, Bob Stoops was. Geez, see that now? Now I can rattle them off left and right.
So wait,
guys on their staff probably wear boxers. Does that mean we can't wear boxers? He said.
That's a total. Mike
So
Gundy
Les Miles, when he was the coach of Oklahoma State, decided that nobody was allowed to wear visors on his coaching staff because Bob Stoops wore one.
That's correct.
Holy God!
I think the better reason for that is because they look dumb.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're not going to wear visors because let's just face it, guys. Visors don't look good. Okay, can we all agree? Yep. All right. Cool. Because Oklahoma wears them.
Lane Train attributes his visor to Steve Spurrier.
Yep.
Look at this. Here's a picture of Vince Lombardi.
Lombardi's wearing it? Oh, he is.
Maybe Vince Lombardi started this.
What color is that? Because we don't know. It's in black and white.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Is it like just a very earthy tone gray visor?
I don't think it's gray.
It just has like a football on it.
It's got a color, but look at that. How about thank you for that picture, DMer.
That is nice.
I have
Vince Lombardi. Man,
I got a colorized photo of him wearing a visor.
What color is it?
White.
Visors go back.
White.
Yeah,
white
then,
visor.
Do we forget, guys, when tennis was really flourishing with some of the old stars, they were big visor people too.
Andre Agassi had to let that hair go.
He had the visor. Mm-hmm. I just want to know the evolution of the visor when we thought, okay, it's not enough to wear a visor, but to flip it upside down and wear it backwards.
Watch this.
Yeah. You know what? It's not enough. This visor, this showing the top half of my head isn't enough. I'm going to go backwards because we do that with ball caps. But you know what? That's not enough.
Well, the great thing about the visor
upside down
is that it gives you the option to do that. Hats don't. If you wore a hat upside down, you would look like an idiot.
You just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they went upside down, because you can't do that with a hat.
No, of course not.
I think you're right.
Yeah. You're like, I wonder what would happen if I put on a hat upside down. You'd never know.
Looks like a
I got
lamp.
a hat on right now. I couldn't possibly wear it upside
That's true.
down.
I guess you could if you were doing a rally cap or something like that. But it would always ruin
There have been
hats.
many years that I've contemplated that. And I think you've come up with the best reason why people, and maybe I don't think as less of them when they have an upside down visor, because you know what, you can.
No, I don't know why they decided though that they wanted to desperately flip their hats upside down. I'm not sure what
I've never had the itch to make my hat upside down. I've just accepted I can't do that.
I no longer had the itch to make your hat upside down.
I don't care if you do anymore.
No,
they don't do people. I don't see people doing rally caps much anymore.
Yeah, you're right. The rally cap has really gone by the wayside. Yeah. Is it because we're just not creative anymore? Or
three true outcomes? I mean, you pretty much know what's going to happen.
There's no rallies.
Down. Yeah.
There's no rallies. That's right.
Yep.
The rally caps died with rallies.
That poor monkey.
Again.
I remember
why couldn't the Caps be enough? Now all of a sudden we got to introduce an animal or a stuffed animal.
When Ned Yost was the manager of the Royals, he would be triggered that they would hit home runs sometimes because they weren't rally inducing. We need more singles. We need more runners on base.
Singles are more fun.
Get them on, get them over, get them in.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's baseball, baby.
And there was really, I mean, out of the Royals' very memorable run in the postseason those 2 years, I can really only think of 2 massive home runs. A lot of the other ones were base running things, singles,
when you
taking the extra base.
When you had Gore, you had a stolen base machine right there.
Like I think of Lorenzo Cain scoring from first on that, basically single. That was great. Or, I mean, I guess Alcides Escobar hit an inside the park home run.
That's true. Yeah.
That doesn't count. But so like Gordon's home run was a solo home run in the 9th inning of Game 1 of the 15 World Series. And
were you at that game?
I was not.
Okay.
I was at the
wild card game.
I was at the 14 wild card game.
Okay. For some reason, I thought you were at one of the World Series games.
And I think Hosmer hit a big one in the 2015 ALDS game against Houston, where they had to come all the way back.
Yeah.
But the most important play of that game was a little doink single up the middle that was misplayed by Carlos Correa.
Mm-hmm.
Because it went off the mound, and you still have that picture of what's his name, Tony Sipp, going.
Yeah,
he was scared. What a time!
Scary hops.
Maybe we'll get some of that. Maybe we'll get some Royals singles this October.
Ooh.
Oh,
who knows?
See, this is actually other than Nick Grimm in the Rockies, which I don't really even feel bad because didn't he just adopt them this year? That hasn't been
since he's adopted baseball. He's decided that he was going to like the Rockies.
Okay.
So it's like in the last 2 years, probably.
Okay, so 2 years. So he's not fully invested on whether they have an amazing season or not. It's not gonna muddy up his day.
He's pretty invested. He's actually maybe more invested than most people that I know.
Oh, really?
But he also is aware that they're terrible.
Yes.
And that's why he picked them.
He came into that knowing that Rockies baseball. It's cooler to go to the stadium than actual watch the team.
It was going to take a couple years to probably have any sort of success.
He wanted to be on the ground floor of something, and I can respect that.
Yeah,
I do too.
It's easy to jump on.
I'm a Yankees fan.
Yeah, it's easy to jump on the team that is going to give you far more highs than lows.
He certainly could have been a Royals fan.
All of our teams have a shot.
I know.
I mean, that's the thing. Like whether it's the wild card, the division.
I'm waiting for a little Cleveland Guardians regression to the mean.
Oh, did you see the way they're hitting there towards the end of the break?
Come on, give me a little bit more of that.
Yep,
a little bit more.
I was talking to Schaefer.
Padres this weekend.
Yeah, at home though. So you come to the land.
That's true.
They might have to deal with the midges.
Yeah, it's almost midges season.
It is. It's pretty close to midges season.
I was getting crushed by bugs last night at slow pitch softball.
Yeah.
Holy smokes! And I don't like to put bug spray on.
No.
I just don't like it.
I
just had to
it works.
One of them
very
drew
well.
One of them drew blood.
Oh.
And I'm like, all right, this is bad. It's bad.
Yeah, Kelly gets that way, especially if there's been a lot of rain.
Last night
Kelly gets pretty bad.
It was. I mean, usually it's a lot windier. The ball was just not flying. It was like through the waterfall of the air last night.
It was pretty thick.
Everything was just dying.
Oh,
that's just getting eaten by bugs.
That surprises me. That it would have been that the air felt so thick that it would not. I figured last night's conditions would be a launching pad.
Nope, not for us. Not for us. There was a couple.
Come on, boys.
There was a couple dudes in the parking lot, like they had just got done playing their games, and they were starting toward the end of our second game. They would give their children beers, and then they would run them over to the outfield fence and then start heckling the outfielders on our team and saying, drink this beer, and they want you to drink it. And then two of our outfielders
got one.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So they weren't taunting like, I bet you want this, don't you? Can't have it.
No.
So they were actually being very.
No, it was great.
Very respectful.
It was classic.
That is nice.
By the way, right on cue, here is a mosquito forecast. from Caitlin Harvey in Omaha.
She doesn't. Wait, is this a thing?
It's our television partner, KATV.
Right. Well, I knew that. What, the mosquito forecast is a thing?
She just put out the mosquito forecast. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah.
Weather people seem to be tired of
just weather
predicting the weather. They want to gear it to you and what you're doing.
That's I appreciate that.
There's the dog walk forecast, the mowing the lawn forecast, the car wash forecast.
What do they call it? Like the humidity index. Like the worst is I can't even remember. It's just there's a funny name the way they describe like the worst
death?
part of it.
Yeah. So here's the mosquito forecast.
Like moist death.
Tonight high.
Oh shoot.
Saturday high.
Oh.
Sunday high.
Damn it.
Monday high.
Oh. Okay. Thanks for that.
Okay.
Not a great mosquito forecast.
That's lifting me up right
now. I would love a little variance.
Yeah.
Also, we received a text from Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Matt Nagy is my neighbor.
What?
Hanley, would you like me to ask if he still has any Bears visors?
I would like to know if I could have one of the IHOP menus that he calls a play sheet.
Okay.
That he wallpapers his man cave with all of his play sheets.
He probably still uses that as the offensive coordinator of the Chiefs.
If he can find me a play sheet from any play sheet from the 2018 season when they were actually good, I'd be really happy.
There you go.
I don't want a Bears visor though. I'm not a visor guy.
So Joe, while you see, you meet Matt Nagy at the mailbox, and you say, "Hey, my friend here in Omaha would really like one of those Waffle House menus."
And you can tell him he thinks you're a really, really good guy. He just thought you were in over your head.
Yeah, definitely deliver that message too.
And Matt's gonna be like, "Well, yeah, I was."
He's probably like, "You know what? I am better now.
Yeah.
I'm with the Chiefs."
Did you ever hear Matt Nagy sing the 7th inning stretch at Wrigley?
Oh no!
Oh, I feel like I have.
Did you realize that when he said peanuts, it didn't sound like it? Like really badly too.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, it was. There was zero T sound in that too. It almost like he did it on purpose, and that became
maybe he was dared.
He might have been. Now, who dared him though? Was it Vic Fangio? was it Mitchell? It might have been Trubisky.
Hey, you all. Hey!
I bet you won't do it.
Hey,
but I will.
It's Fangs. Look, you always mispronounce my first name, and I know you're doing it on purpose. I bet you won't do it on purpose when you're singing that. So I don't know why Vic Fangio is Southern.
That does sound like it could. I mean, it would make sense.
It's a good defensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's a
voice.
defensive. He's an old school defensive minded guy.
I bet you won't. Bet you won't do it at that stadium.
At that stadium. Yeah, if you get a chance, just listen and tell me if you can get a hint of a T in there when he says peanuts.
Joe says he's on it.
Oh, all right. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
I will admit, I did think it was kind of cool when it would have been the COVID year that they did everybody's draft was at they show the coaches' houses.
That was fun.
Great. And you got to see Matt Nagy's man cave or his war room in his house, and the wallpaper is all the play sheets that he's had.
So
in
weird.
His time.
Football coaches are so weird.
They
man.
are.
I love it.
Remember Bill Belichick's table?
Yeah.
Something that you would see like at a lake house that was built in the 70s?
Or Goodell's whatever
basement.
he had going on down there.
Which I thought it'd be a lot bigger.
Didn't he have like a big chair?
Yeah.
Like a gigantic chair?
Very big chair. It looked like more of a study. He had a study.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which made him look more refined, I suppose. Remember when you could virtually boo? God, weird freaking times.
Yeah, weird times.
CGI'd fans, cardboard fans.
I know a couple people
virtual booing.
I know a couple people that got in to the virtual bubble.
For
the NBA playoffs.
Really?
Yeah, they were rooting for the Lakers.
Nice.
They were sitting there in the corner in one of the Brady Bunch screens.
That was also so weird.
Yeah, people would put there was very specific rules of the things you could and couldn't do, but obviously when you're live on Zoom or whatever, you're just like, well, now's my time. I might be on national TV. Somebody's going to catch this. You just put up maybe like a sign that says something not so good that they wouldn't want on TV. Yeah, weird times.
I totally forgot about that.
Weird times.
Onward and upward.
All right. Well,
have a good weekend.
Yeah, enjoy your weekend.
You too.
Is the crossover powered by Every Level Concrete Repair in Omaha at everylevelconcrete.com. It's Friday. We'll start things off next.
It's the Connor Happer Show. Are we sure we want to do this?
Could you, make an announcement that we're ready?
It's the Connor Happer Show on 1620, The Zone.
All right, welcome in. Happy Friday. It is the Connor Happer Show here on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. Connor Happer, Josh Hodson with you as we send you into the weekend. And next week, we talk. As if that was different from this week, but we talk more specifically about Big Ten football.
Oh, yeah, it's their turn to talk.
New teams in the conference and new coaches in the conference. Not very many. Actually, outside of the new teams, right? There's just two new coaches this year, Indiana and Michigan. I think that might be it, neither of which Nebraska runs into in their schedule. So I can't wait till next week when we talk about what people are talking about.
What weirdo thing is PJ Fleck going to say? What bombshell story will drop about PJ Fleck maybe being a bad person?
That was so stupid.
Every year we do this.
That was so stupid. There was, I remember this now. There was a story that came, it was Front Office Sports or something like that. And they were like, some player said that PJ Fleck was a coach and he didn't treat him very well.
Rode him just a little too hard.
Yeah, maybe trying a little bit there. That's okay. Maybe we'll get that next week. What weird story will come out of media days? Who knows?
He made me try and get Fleck bucks.
Yeah, Fleck bucks. Fleck bucks.
Fleck coins. There were coins,
Fleck
weren't they?
Coins. Yeah. Good memory, Josh. Jeez, nice job.
I don't remember anything like that.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get a mention of Fleck coin this year, like Dogecoin. I think it's available to buy and trade.
Now would be the time to buy it because it's so low.
Buy low for sure. Today on a Friday show, no Brian Munson today because he is off to his son is kicking at the Coles Kicking Academy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Congrats to the Munsons.
But I have heard that he's had maybe some difficulties at the airport this morning. Today is a day where you do not want to be at an airport or anything that runs off of computers.
Boy,
because computers are broken today.
Really didn't take much to cripple society.
Interesting thing that you noticed there, Josh. Yeah,
it wasn't even an attack. It was just a badly programmed update.
Nice. Well, you got to run that Windows update.
No, you don't. Don't ever do that.
You got to do it. Sometimes you got to turn the computer off, turn it back on.
Don't update your apps. Just leave them be.
Every once in a while, you got to turn that thing off and turn it back on. And then all of a sudden, you turn it back on. It's like we have 100 updates to run. And then, hopefully, your computer isn't the computer that's in charge of the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, wouldn't want to be at an airport today. That's for sure. So we wish Brian Munson good luck.
If you are listening to us at an airport,
let me know how it's going.
Hi.
Yeah. How we doing? You're probably not because you're just triggered and you're arguing with people at the airport.
Good thing the Windows phone never really took off.
That's true. If you do have a Windows phone, let us know. By the way, what a convenient time for the Mac to announce its new tablet partner, Microsoft. As of this morning, that's right. The Mac has signed an agreement with Microsoft as its tablet partner for the 2024 season. I'm sure they'll work.
Oh, the Mid-American Conference.
Just the Mac.
Not the Mid-American Center.
Nope.
Or
I don't think they need too many tablets.
Coach Greg McDermott.
Nope. I don't. I think they have some. I think they're good.
Okay.
The Mid-American Conference.
Maction.
Yes, which people love and adore, of course. Can't wait till that first Tuesday Maction, that's for sure.
And 200 people watch it.
So no Munson today, but Brian Christopherson and Steven M Sipple will join during the show today. We'll talk some Husker football. And speaking of Husker football, we roll on with summer school. We're going in order. We're trying to go in order. And, Hopefully you weren't counting us out too early. We had a little bit of a rocky start yesterday, but we did get off the ground. 1-for-1, UTEP down. Today we learn more about the Northern Iowa Panthers from J.W. Cox. They're the voice of the UNI Panthers. Exactly. Do you think they do a lot of Panther noises at the Unidome? I bet they do.
Probably.
I've never been to a football game out there, but I imagine they do quite a bit.
Iowa Western used to go to the Unidome quite a bit to play in the Graphic Edge Bowl.
They still have like a...
And then they became better than the Graphic Edge Bowl.
They still have like a softball tournament out there in like February that I always laugh at because the configuration is so funny. So maybe we'll ask JW about that, but probably not.
Probably not.
Probably just the Panthers. Nick Grimm is trying to convince everybody that UNI will beat Nebraska this year, or he's saying that it would be funny if it did happen. And I said, Nick, there's literally no precedent for this. Nope,
none.
No precedent. Nebraska has never lost to an FCS team before. They've tried. They tried very hard, but unfortunately in 2014 they had Amir Abdullah, and he was able to break through. Josh asked me this morning. This was our discussion before the show today.
It was.
He said, "What if they would have lost that game? You know, what would have happened?" And I said, well, or if Amir wouldn't have made that play. So it was 24-24 with 20 seconds left. That was a third down. If I remember right, Nebraska, because I just watched it, Nebraska was on, the plus side of the field in plus territory. So it would have been
in my memory of it, the game is not tied. I had forgotten that the game was tied.
It would have been 4th and like 3 or 4 if he just got tackled on the spot where he caught it.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been a pretty long field goal, which I imagine they would have tried.
Got to try it, right?
And then they probably miss it or whatever, go to overtime and still probably win. But yeah, it looks weird when you look back and say, oh, Nebraska and McNeese State, that almost happened. But Nebraska has stayed away from losing to FCS opponents. Maybe this is the year. At least that's what Nick Grimm is saying. Anyway,
interesting that somebody with such an important position within 1620 the zone,
yes, director of video,
would be rooting for something that would be bad for business.
Almost like he's a contrarian.
Yeah.
Which he denies.
He denies. He's contrarian about being a contrarian.
Interesting. So that is our lineup, powered by the referees at John Higgins Weather Guard. We'd love to hear from you guys. 402-951-1620 on the 42 Degrees of Source hotline. You can call or text that number. Tweet at Happer Show, at Connor Happer on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed, or at producer_Josh there as well. Email Connor or Josh O at 1620thezone.com on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox. And we say good morning to the YouTube streamers today. Hi, guys. What's up, chat? What's going on in the chat today? What are we talking about? Anything going on in there? Ken said dudes can literally just sit around and name coaches who wore visors.
You bet your sweet bippy.
Just gotta name. We just name people, man. I would love to do that segment daily.
Nobody wants to be forgotten,
especially during the summer. We just come up with a category of people and just start naming guys, like 2007 Arizona Diamondbacks or something like that. I don't even know who would fit into that category. Paul Goldschmidt, maybe.
I'm on it. I'm on it.
Yeah, give me some 2007 Arizona Diamondbacks, Josh. America's team, of course. This is before they were America's team and they were on FS1 every day.
Let's see some names that jump out. Levon Hernandez.
Oh, nice.
Randy Johnson.
Sure. That team won the NL West.
Oh, wow.
And made the playoffs before losing to the Rockies in the NLCS because it was Rocktober.
Emilio Bonifacio.
Nice. He's a great Kansas City Royal. Leaders by WAR, the 2007 Arizona Diamondbacks: Brandon Webb, Orlando Hudson, Eric Burns, Micah Owings, Jose Valverde. Remember the Jose Valverde? We've had these really great instances where pitchers were just dominant closers for like 1.5 years at a time. Jose Valverde fits perfectly into that category. Brandon Lyon, Doug Davis, Chris Snyder, Levon Hernandez, Tony Pena Jr., Mark Reynolds, Randy Johnson. Wow, that must have been old Randy Johnson.
Yeah. Kurt Gibson was a bench coach.
Nice. Kurt Gibson still on the broadcast team for the Tigers.
That is correct. Braves hitting coach Kevin Seitzer was the hitting coach.
Mackin Sites. So we still don't have Paul Goldschmidt yet. So there you go. Guys, name of dudes. Young Kim still on the 2007 Arizona Diamondbacks for a couple games.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, there he is. Okay. Sorry, I missed that.
Randy Choate. Do you remember Randy Choate?
Yeah, I do.
You remember Jeff Cirillo?
Oh, yeah.
You remember Carlos Quentin? You got to. Well, you don't remember Carlos Quentin?
Maybe.
Carlos Quentin hit like an extreme amount of home runs for a very short period of time.
Let me see.
Carlos Quentin was one of like the most imposing figures in baseball for a couple years. I don't know, maybe not, but he was imposing. He was a big, huge guy. Swung the bat like it was a toothpick.
Oh, we went to the White Sox for a while. That's why
I do know about him.
So familiar.
Yeah, Carlos Quentin was awesome. Alberto Callaspo. See, dudes can just sit around and name the 2007 Arizona Diamondbacks. So if you'd like us to name more people, just send in a team.
Yeah, it'd be like an improv game, but for sports.
Send in a random team. That's what we're going to do throughout the show today. So if you send in a random team, we will go to their page and their roster from that year, and we will start just listing them. That sounds fun.
It does.
Poll question up at Happer Show. Was Carlos Quentin imposing? Indeed. That's gonna be 100% yes, I would say. All right. Elsewhere on the show today, I guess we'll keep our eye on this British Open, the Open Championship. I apologize. Where Tiger will not be making it to the weekend yet again, in case you were all interested in that. Time to give up, guys. He's not good anymore.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. That's all right. We got a long time with Tiger Woods. We don't have that time anymore. Elsewhere, we will go through Max Olson's various simulations of the 2024 college football season.
Some good stuff in there.
Yeah. Might Nebraska make the playoff this year? Who knows? We'll have our graphic of the day. The pot roast man talking about his defensive line. And it made me think about Nebraska's defense in a bigger way in general. College baseball reacts to the scholarship increase from all levels. What might be the reaction from the sport? We will find out. Kendall Rogers helps us out with that one in the story. Lane Kiffin goes all in on just ripping Paul Feinbaum on his own show. Loved that. And you'll never guess, people in the SEC are expressing concern over playing in the SEC title game and potentially losing it.
Yeah, it's going to cost some teams for sure.
Yeah. I would just recommend winning it.
Have you seen some of these CFP sims on the crazy, stupid video game?
I have. We're going to talk about it.
SEC teams aren't getting anybody in. No, 0 teams.
A lot of Big Ten. Apparently, our future will be run by Puddles the Duck, the Oregon Duck.
And I don't think I knew that was the name.
I think his name is Puddles, right?
Well, no, I trust you.
Yeah. Also, Lamar Jackson and Troy Aikman are fighting over who owns the literal number 8.
I don't know.
I say neither, but
I don't know what this story is about. I know no details. I'm excited to hear about it.
Lamar Jackson, Troy Aikman. I did not see that rivalry coming.
Nope.
But they are trying to both get some sort of copyright to the number 8, which seems weird.
So remember that
when
time?
you think of the number 8, do you think of Lamar Jackson or Troy Aikman? Because I do not. I just see the number 8. Maybe I think of Big Bird first, actually. 8.
Like Sesame Street.
Yeah, like Sesame Street.
Okay.
It's a number.
Yeah.
It's a number.
It's like when Ohio State tried to trademark the word the.
Yeah, right.
And the court said, kindly get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I don't know if that works. So we want to hear from you guys on the show today at on the 42 Degrees of the Source hotline. I got one request so far coming in from Jim and O'Neill. He'd like us to name people on the 2012 Colorado Rockies. So we're here for you. Leader in War, Raphael Bentoncourt.
Okay.
Dexter Fowler, Matt Belisle, Julius Chassin, Tyler Colvin. Wow. Eric Young Jr., Drew Pomerantz, Willen Rosario, Carlos Gonzalez, nice. Rex Brothers, Jeff Francis, Todd Helton, age 38. Todd Helton was still on the 2012 Colorado Rockies. A young DJ LeMahieu was on the 2012 Colorado Rockies. Troy Tulowitzki, Charlie Blackmon. This is like the heyday of the Colorado Rockies.
Did I miss you shout out Jason Giambi?
I have not mentioned him yet. Is he on here?
Yeah. 2012 Colorado Rockies, right?
Jason Giambi, age 41, played 60 games for the Colorado Rockies. Look at that.
Glenn Allen Hill was their first base coach.
That's nice. 49-year-old Jamie Moyer was on the 2012 Colorado Rockies. 49-year-old Jamie Moyer.
You know,
this is a great bit. I like this.
If everybody on this team could be in their prime,
this is a decent team.
Decent little ball club.
This is instead they did not have everybody in their prime, and they finished 64-98, which was last place in the National League West, run by Jim Tracy. Jim Tracy was fired after the season, by the way, and made way for Walt Weiss, who continued to not win until he got fired 4 years later.
Hey.
And then Bud Black came along, and then they won.
Hey, the Cubs and Astros finished worse in the National League that year.
The Astros in the National League.
That's right.
Mason Daniel writes in.
Hi, Daniel.
He says, in terms of sports, my first thought for number 8 is Kobe. Jed writes in. He says, did Steve Young not want any ownership of the number 8? Like I said, lots of number 8s, but we're down to the final 2. It's the national championship game of the number 8, and that is Lamar Jackson and Troy Aikman.
A lot of upsets happened along the way.
Yep, they're fighting each other. All right, we got another request that we'll do that on. We'll do that throughout the show. The get ready to talk about the '85 Reds. We'll talk about that. Also, Alex and Lincoln, one more writes in. He says, "Thank you for working on a Friday. Thank you for noticing. I am here, and it is Friday.
Happens more and more.
I believe that's a couple times in a row now.
Yeah,
2 in a row. Watch out.
It'd be 2. Yeah.
Interesting. Might there be a third next week? Stay tuned to find out. Off and running on a Friday. It's the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Let's get back to the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Here comes the clown.
All right, welcome back. Connor Happer, Josh Odson with you. We have our graphic of the day coming up here momentarily. A couple requests in here for people that we are going to name on a Friday. Chris in South Carolina wants to talk about the 1985 Cincinnati Reds. How about 44-year-old Pete Rose?
44.
44-year-old Pete Rose in his second to last season.
Second to last?
He was an all-star. In 1985.
We didn't know about nutrition in 1985 like we do now. You can't just be Tom Brady out there at 45.
He still hit 264 that year. Still got on base almost 40% of the time.
Wow.
Look at that. Pete Rose. When a guy can hit, a guy can hit. Davey Concepcion, Buddy Bell, Dave Parker, Cesar Cedeno, Tony Perez, Eric Davis, and a rookie left fielder by the name of Paul O'Neill.
We did leave out a glaring omission.
Oh, we got a few.
Pete Rose was also the manager.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. Yes, he was. It was in that portion of his career.
Yes.
Player manager Pete Rose. Good one. Thank you for not leaving that out. They're starting rotation. Tom Browning, Mario Soto, Jay Tibbs, Andy McGaffigan, closer Ted Power. What a great closer name. And a 24-year-old John Franco. 24-year-old John Franco in his second major league season and won 12 games that year and then went on to play for 100 more years.
Some say he's still playing
today. He played until 2005. Love that. Love that. Thank you. The 1985 Cincinnati Reds, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Still take your requests there at Happer Show, or you could text them in, of course, as well. I believe Josh has got a request for a Creighton Blue Jay team.
Yes, we are. We do need a clarification on that from John. So check your inbox, John.
No, that's okay. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll do one of these a segment or something like that.
Plenty of show left.
Graphic of the day. So Brooksgate has been taking over the space that Jay Kuda guy.
Yeah.
They're doing the same thing.
Jay was out of ideas this week or took the week off because of the All-Star game or something.
And so here comes Brooksgate with a bunch of random things. Graphic of the day today. What second half record each team needs to finish with to have a better record than last season? All right.
There it is. All its glory.
Who has to win the least amount of games to get to at least the total number of wins that they had last year?
It's got to be the guards, right?
They are close.
Oh, okay.
They still need 19 more, though. That'd be the Kansas City Royals.
Oh.
All they have to do in order to go at least 56 and 106 is win 5 out of their next 65 games.
I like their chances.
5 more wins, Josh. You do? You like their chances?
I do.
I do as well. The Oakland Athletics, who remarkably lost 112 games last year, are on a much better pace this year, but still pretty bad. They'll need to win 14 more. We go to the other side. Remember when the Tampa Bay Rays were like, I don't know, what were they, like 30-4 at some point last year?
That's right.
They had just a torrid start to their season. Last year they finished with 99 wins total on the season, which was, 36 games above 500. They are currently at 500. So they'll need to go only 52-14 to win exactly as many games as they did last year. Not sure it's in the cards for the Tampa Bay Rays.
Doesn't seem like it.
No.
I find it interesting that the Marlins need to go 52-14 to match.
I mean, they made the playoffs last year, didn't they? Or they were like right on the edge of it?
Right on the edge, I think.
I guess no, they probably didn't make it, but they won 84 games last year, and they are bad. 30-63.
And They're going to get worse in the next week.
They will have to go 52-14 down the stretch. I agree with you, Josh. Here's my take. I like the Royals' chances to win 5 out of 65.
Okay. I mean, they got
Because
3 against the White Sox this weekend.
Exactly. They're going to get 3 against Chicago this weekend.
Miami did make the playoffs last year. Got swept 2-0 to the Fightin' Phils.
That's our graphic of the day, folks. Look at that. Thank you, Brooksgate. A lot of different things going on from Brooksgate. This person had some ridiculous ones over the last 2 or 3 days, and that Jay Kuda guy was done doing Microsoft Paint on his phone still. The latest one from Brooksgate was attendance per home game this year. Oakland Athletics, 7,731, MLB team. Dayton Dragons, high A affiliate.
Oh, no.
8,034. They're drawing 8,000 fans a game in Dayton for A-ball? What the hell's going on out there?
What are they doing? What?
I don't know. Did they play like one game in front of 40,000 people or something like that and then just blow the whole number out of proportion? I'm not sure.
They're an affiliate with the Reds.
All right.
If that helps. I don't think it does quite yet.
Nope. Not quite. But they're averaging more fans than the Oakland Athletics. High A Reds affiliate.
Pedro Alfonseca is on the team.
Who's that?
Maybe it's
it just sounded familiar, Josh.
Maybe it's Six Fingers McGee's son.
Yeah, maybe they're showing up for Pedro Alfonseca.
Yeah,
that's good. All right, that's our graphic of the day. Brought to you by Could Be You.
Could be literally anyone.
Could be literally anybody.
Do you have a checkbook?
You just hit us up. Hit us up if you'd like to sponsor your graphic of the day. We could even talk about it longer or more. We could do more graphics if you'd like to. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys.
Read all about your business, your website.
All right, we're back after this. We will dive into college football simulations. I also got an email from RZ about what it might take to get into the playoff. Yeah, it's okay to dream a little bit right now. That's okay. And we'll have another rando team to name coming back on 1620 The Zone. All right, in our quest here on a Friday in July to name as many random people as we possibly can, and you'll hear a name and you'll say, "Oh yeah, wow!"
It takes you back to a better time.
Sure does. We've got a request from the Equitable Bank inbox from who sent this, Josh?
This is from John.
It's from John.
Shout out to John. He wants us to discuss the 2004-2005 Creighton Blue Jays.
Their basketball team, I assume.
I would assume.
Okay. We'll do that.
I guess I don't know that to be true.
If it's their soccer team, just let us know. 23-11
takes about that.
Finished third in the Missouri Valley, and I think won the Missouri Valley. Yeah, they won the Missouri Valley tournament. They beat Missouri State in the Missouri Valley final at the building formerly known as the Savvis Center.
Whoa.
Then the Scott Trade Center, and then 17 other things, but the home of Arch Madness. So they won the Missouri Valley final, and then went to the NCAA tournament where they lost to Kevin Pittsnoggle in West Virginia. Here are some people on that team: Nate Funk, Johnny Mathis, Kellen Milner, Dane Watts, Tyler McKinney, Jimmy Moats, Jeffrey Day, Anthony Tolliver, Pierce Hibba, Dennis Howard, Quincy Henderson, Steve Smith. That's their entire roster. Those are some great Creighton basketball names. Like the first 5 or 7 that I mentioned there. Really, really good. Now, once again, Nate Funk averaged almost 18 points a game that year.
Wow.
That's pretty good. I mean, I didn't think. All right, now I'm clicking on Nate Funk. So this is what I hope to do the entire time. So this was Nate Funk's junior year, and then the next year he ended up getting hurt, and then he came back and had the redshirt year. So this was, this year, and then the 2 years later, his redshirt senior year were basically identical seasons for Nate Funk, where he was averaging, like I said, 18-ish points a game. He averaged 17.8 in his junior year, and then 17.7 in his redshirt senior year. Nate Funk, ladies and gentlemen. I remember watching this team or teams around this period of time and thinking, wow, this Nate Funk guy, this is as good as it gets. I don't know what's going to happen when Nate Funk leaves, but I feel like our program is pretty solely dependent on Nate Funk.
How do you come back from that?
I just don't know I don't know what could possibly be next after this. I was just a child at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know what the next 20 years would hold. Definitely not what I expected. Also, low-key shout out to Johnny Mathis. I really like Johnny Mathis.
Just some good names on that team.
Some good names. And Tyler McKinney. Tyler McKinney was just a dog. Just getting after it. Dane Watts in the middle. Kellen Milner. Jimmy Moats. And then a young Anthony Tolliver was working his way into some playing time at that point. There you go. That's the 2004-2005 Creighton Blue Jays. Thank
23-11.
John. 23-11 Missouri Valley champs. They got to hold up that sign at the end of the tournament. There was just a white sign and bold black letters, very normal font that said Missouri Valley champs. That is like the lasting image in my head.
That's right.
It just says Missouri Valley champs.
And like a lot of things,
here, take this sign. We just made it.
Now, like a lot of things in sports, it's a big production. It's a big ordeal. At the time, it was just, here's a sign with some black letters on it. Be happy that we.
You want to put your logo on? No, we can't put your logo on.
What about the conference logo? Like someone's going to win the conference.
No,
right?
no.
Okay.
Just take it down to Kinko's and make me a big sign that says Missouri Valley champs, and make only one of them, and don't make any noticeable characteristics because we're going to ask for it back when they're done taking pictures with it. Missouri Valley champs. I don't know why, but that is definitely the lasting image, and really, really baggy shorts, obviously.
Oh, well, yes, of course. John has responded via the email, Equitable Bank inbox. Thank you.
You are welcome. This is part of the game. We do have one more random team on deck. If you'd like to hit us up, we need some more at this point because we got 12 segments in this show, baby.
Mm-hmm.
We got a few teams down. We got one on deck, and then we're going to need some more after that. So give us a random team where we can name the people, and hopefully we find ourselves traveling down a road that we did not expect to travel down today.
We've got one on deck for the next segment, you said, right?
Correct.
So we need 7 more.
7 more rando teams. 951-1620. You can text those in, or you can leave a comment, or you can tweet them. All right. So this is not going to be a segment about the video game. Don't tell anybody on the internet that it's going to be a segment on the video about the video game.
Please tell people on the internet that it's about the video game. We'll get those clickies.
Are we still clicking on the content about the video game?
I think an older demographic still is. The youngs are like, oh my gosh, we get it. Okay.
I was more interested in like the football aspect of what Max Olson did yesterday, and this kind of happened during our show, but I wasn't able to, wrap my arms around it until a bit later. So Max, dear friend of the show, also a member of the Weirdo Jack Mitchell softball team, ran 25 simulations of the 2024 season in the college football stupid video game. I'm never going to stop calling it the stupid video game, by the way, even though I love it dearly and I've spent way too much time. If you guys notice by the end of the show today, I'm going to be very, very tired because I have not stopped playing that game basically the entire week. Yeah, I can't control myself. Except for when the servers are down.
Whoa.
EA, fix your servers.
Wow.
Maybe it had something to do with the explosion of the computers this morning. I have no idea. So 25 simulations of this season. I know you're wondering, so we'll tell you right off the bat. Nebraska, how many times did they make the playoff? 3. That's this year.
Hello.
Not 25 years into the future. 25 times where this season is played over and over. And it has all real players. And it has the real schedule and everything like that. So it's real, right? So Nebraska has a 12% chance to make the college football playoff this year. I liked our odds.
That's pretty good. I like that amount of hope. Like, if it happens or not, who cares? But
one of those 3 times, they made the semifinals, but unfortunately lost to Iowa State.
That would be a fun Big Red overreaction.
They beat Ohio State in the quarterfinal and then lost to Iowa State in the semifinal. And then the Cyclones went on to lose the national championship game against who?
Clemson, Miami was the other Final Four, an ACC matchup.
Amazing. So let me say this first right off the bat if we're talking about the reality of these simulations. First of all, one thing I have noticed as a player of the stupid video game is that the AI that controls, or whatever, the computer that controls the simulation part of it, the games that aren't yours, right? So in this case, everything, it seems to be a little wacky.
Oh,
but you would think if you do it 25 times, then you get to steady out at least a little bit. Michigan made
and that was Max's point of the whole thing.
Correct.
Was the consistency part.
Michigan made it 23 out of 25 times, most of anybody.
Are we sure about that, guys?
And won the national championship 3 times. Oregon made it 22 out of 25 times, and won the national championship 9 times. Puddles is having a great time on that stage. They're delivering him a sign in bold letters that says national champs, college football playoff national champs. And he's just holding it up with a shout out to the Missouri Valley tournament, Arch Madness in 2005. Georgia won 3 natties. Ohio State won 3 natties. Kansas State won 2 natties. And Texas A&M, Alabama, Utah, and Clemson, and Oklahoma State and Boise State each won a national championship. What can we learn from this, Josh? What can we learn?
Maybe Michigan's going to be better than I thought.
Yeah.
Or maybe the whole thing's wackadoo.
So Michigan has, Michigan has the best individual player in the game, the best player in the game.
They do.
Corner Will Johnson, and their dual threat quarterbacks are very, very difficult to control.
Sure.
Alex Orji is, I've played them as my dynasty is with Minnesota for some reason. By the way, I suck. We are 2-7 right now. I was so happy to get a win over Illinois last night. I had no wins over FBS teams yet.
Wow.
Close games. We were close a lot.
Oh,
a lot of
I
Scott
don't want to hear that.
It was basically like 2021 Scott Frost. It really was. And I just haven't been able to get over the hump. And I finally did against Illinois. So I'm very happy about that. Michigan was a very tough team to play. A very difficult team to play. And so, it's a video game after all. So I got this email from earlier. And so we're talking about Nebraska making the college football playoff. On the high end of things, could you see a world where Nebraska makes the college football playoff this year? What's the number that we've been throwing out there? 10 wins?
10 wins, you're in the conversation.
Is 10 wins in the range of possibility for Nebraska football this year? Sure. Is it likely? No. I mean, completely unlikely, but it's in the range. So we have to treat it as a possibility. So I got this email. We talked about this a little bit on the Locked On podcast this morning with myself and Mitch Sherman. RZ writes it.
Hi, RZ.
He says, enjoy listening to you and Mitch's podcast, but it seems like whenever anyone talks about the playoff chances, they only assume that winning 10 games automatically gets you in. If Nebraska was 10-2 and had a bunch of close wins against a poop schedule, he says PUD.
Oh,
I like that. I like the PUD schedule. That's cool. Gets ran off the tracks by Ohio State in the, I'd assume you mean, in the game that they're playing Ohio State. We're talking about 10-2 regular season. And Alabama goes 8-4 with close losses across the board against their schedule. Who are you taking? Score comparisons, level of dominance, and performances against common opponents are going to figure in heavily. The eyeball test will matter a ton. IMO. Consider what happens with a potentially 8-4 Alabama who hammers Wisconsin on the road versus a 10-2 Nebraska team that barely squeaks by Wisconsin. There's zero chance Nebraska is getting ahead of Alabama in that scenario. None. The only reason I write this is because it's been repeated ad nauseum this offseason that 10-2 or 9-3 in the Big Ten is enough to get you in, not so fast. I think what Josh said before I read that email is important. It definitely gets you in the conversation. I don't think there's any guarantees because there's so much that goes, there's just so much that goes on around you, right? I mean, you can't know what the rest of the situation is going to look like. But to this specific scenario, if Nebraska's 10-2 and whatever the 10 wins look like and whatever the 2 losses look like, and we're talking about being better than Alabama by 2 wins, even with their schedule, and maybe they lost close and beat the living hell out of everybody else. I don't know, man. It's still 2 more wins. Alabama is going to, they will tell everybody that they belong in the college football playoff.
Nick Saban ain't walking through that door, though.
But ultimately, losses still have to mean something, right?
We'll see. We'll see if they do, Connor.
They will. I'm pretty confident in that.
I would think 2.
I just think if you are 8-4, assuming there are power conference, we're talking about Big Ten and SEC. There's undefeated teams, there's 11-win teams, there's 10-win teams, and there's 9-win teams, all ahead of you, or maybe you're ahead of 1 or 2 of the 9-win teams or whatever. If you're 8-4 Alabama, there's going to be enough that fit that criteria to not have to dig all the way down and grab 8-win Alabama. I'm not saying that it's an impossible scenario that they don't. I'm not saying it's impossible that they do make the playoff. Right?
We thought last year there'd be no way that it would fall to Alabama as the 4th team in.
Oh, I don't know we thought that there would be no way.
Not
they won
no
the
path.
They won the SEC.
Yeah.
I mean,
but with a couple weeks left, it was like, okay, a miraculous string of events has to occur for Alabama to make the playoff, and then it did.
So, will there be, basically the question is, will there be enough 10-win teams? Will there be 12 at least 10-win power conference teams? I got this very specific research being fed to me right now. This is very good information. Wow. 6 out of the last 7 years, there's been a 9-3 team ranked in the top 12.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you looked that up because I was literally typing up.
I looked that up.
The top 25 standings last year to try and glean something.
Oh yes, I looked this up.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Way to go, Riders.
6 out of the last 7 years, there's been a 9-3 team ranked in the top 12. And not that team would, not that the 9-win team would get in front of the 10-win team, but like to the scenario that RZ just laid out, if Nebraska's 10-2, and they're, whatever their losses are to Ohio State and I don't know, make up another one. The next best team they play, USC or something like that. Or Iowa, whatever it might be. They're gonna have themselves in the conversation. There's not going to be any guarantees, obviously, because once again, what happens around you is what happens around you. But at the same time, there is going to be enough of those type of teams to fill up those spots. Most of them, yes. And then you're on the outside looking in for the 12th spot, basically.
Last year, at small sample size, I know, at the end of the regular season, 12 teams, excuse me, let me word this correctly.
Okay.
The top 12 teams all had 10 wins. And then there were a couple 9-win teams, and then to some 10
okay. Say it one more
teams.
Time. The top 12 teams all had 10 wins. Can you name them?
Or more.
Can you name them?
Michigan, Washington, Texas, Florida State, Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Oregon, Missouri, Penn State, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. Now, keep in mind, you would also have to include, I believe in this scenario, 13-0 Liberty or 11-2 SMU. Not sure which would be the qualifier there.
Right. It's not. Yeah. They're one of those two is going to remove one of the 12, and there's still conference championship weekend, which you have to play and get your champions from that, and then the loser of those games are probably still in as well. So, they're. Like I said, it's going to get you really, really, really close. No guarantees, but it's going to get you really, really close. And
14 Power 5 at the time teams in the top 25 had 10 or more wins.
In the top 25?
Mm-hmm. I can't imagine there's a Power 5 team with 10 wins that isn't in the top 25, but
right.
I'm only looking at the top 25.
What was the lowest rank? So this is, once again, this is after week 12 last year, after the regular season ended last year. What was the lowest ranked Power 5 10-win team?
The 20th ranked team in the country,
Iowa.
The Iowa Hawkeyes at 10-3.
Right. So then you're bringing up the question of perception, and you're bringing up the question of what is Nebraska going to be ranked at that point. Interesting.
Now, this is fresh off a. Did they make the Big Ten title game last year, or was that Purdue?
No.
Purdue's 2 years ago, right?
Yeah,
3 years ago.
I believe Iowa won the Big Ten West last year.
Who can remember? R.I.P.
Yeah, Iowa got smoked by Michigan.
Yeah,
Iowa's got smoked by Michigan 2 years in a row, right?
There was a Purdue in there within a string of.
There was the Purdue was the 2021. I believe after that
still counts.
Yep.
So time is a flat circle in the Big Ten.
I mean that's a pretty good example. I mean that's basically what RZ is talking about. That's 10-2 Iowa, who's ranked number 20 in the country. So this is why perception is important as well. Depending on your wins and losses, whatever it might be. I mean, when they do these rankings, we don't like to admit it, but I think the brand matters a little bit.
A little bit.
So maybe
it is a TV product,
and how you look is really important. And so, Nebraska, if they were to go 10-2 this year, you know what they're not going to have? The worst offense in the country, right? Iowa had the worst offense in the country last year. Like it would have been a tough ask to put them into the college football playoff, even if they, qualified for it, because nobody wants to see that garbage. But like I said at the start of this conversation, I still think the wins have to mean something. I wonder. I can't wait to see how it all kind of plays out and who ends up getting into those spots and what their seasons look like in order to get there. But with that being said, If Nebraska is a 10-win team this year, they're going to be right there in the conversation. We'll be arguing for it. That's for sure. So that was part of what I took away from Max's simulation of the 2024 season several times. Also, there was a bunch of interesting Heisman winners. There were some really wacko playoff like Final Fours and national championship games and stuff like that. See, in a one-off, it's hard to predict that, right? We think it's all going to end up like it normally is. But if you do it over 10 years, we're going to get an upset or two in the college football playoff.
Sure.
We're going to get somebody in the national championship game who we think, I'm not sure they deserve to be there. But they will definitely deserve to be there because they will have won a couple games prior to being there.
What if their quarterback gets injured in one of the playoff games?
Yeah.
Would the committee step in and say, no, you cannot make it?
So here's what happened on Max's simulations as far as the college football playoff is concerned. He said new CFP challenges. The new NCAA Football 14 and past college football games, dynasty users were at the mercy of the game's BCS formula, deciding who plays for championships. Obviously, for this, we have the 12-team playoff. There were mildly surprising decisions at times based on team records, and I didn't see awful glitches. More than anything, because we've never had a 12-team experience, it was fascinating to see the various permutations that the computer logic produced. The Notre Dame problem popped up several times, as expected. The Fighting Irish cannot earn a top 4 seed in a bye without winning a conference title. They suffered first-round losses in 7 of their 9 simulated college football playoff appearances. Interesting. So if that happens, over that long a period of time, don't you think Notre Dame's probably running to the nearest conference that they could find? Maybe.
I would think so.
Several of those home losses came against 8-4 teams, including a 52-16 loss to Clemson. 5 of those losing Notre Dame teams finished 1 or 2 in the final rankings, but were stuck with 5 or 6 seeds because they don't get to have a bye because they're not in a conference. One of their number 1 ranked 11-1 teams did make it to the semifinals, but the new playoff experience was not a fun one for the video game Irish. It was exciting to watch conference title game upsets lead to messier brackets. In one season, Florida lost to Miami, UCF and FCS Southeast. That's right. Florida lost to Miami, UCF, and FCS Southeast, but went 6-2 in the SEC, upset Georgia in the SEC title game, and got the number 4 seed because they won the SEC as a 5-loss, 7-5 team.
Got hot at the right time, though.
A 4-loss Oregon upset Michigan in the Big Ten title game, setting up a playoff where all the top 4 seeds went one and done, and number 9 Ohio State won it all.
Ryan Day saved his job.
Yeah, in that specific one, yeah. Like Dr. Strange, the Ryan Day experience.
One scenario.
One scenario. As we saw with the aforementioned Nebraska vacancy, the coaching carousel. So there, another part of this was that coaches randomly just got up and left, and took other jobs like before the playoffs started. It was kind of funny.
Oh yeah, in the scenario where Nebraska makes the Final Four, Matt Rule leaves Nebraska for Auburn in the middle of the season.
Correct. It's like fake Matt Rule. Yeah. And Chris Kleiman left Kansas State to go coach at Iowa before the playoff as well, I believe. There were many more instances of head coaches at college football playoff schools accepting new jobs before their team had been eliminated. Florida State lost its coach to Penn State and Miami, lost its coach to Oklahoma, while both were still in the playoff. The number 3 Seminoles lost their first playoff game and then hired Colorado's head coach. For some reason, Florida State's coach bailing out on a playoff team for Penn State happened yet again in another simulation. Kansas State also lost its head coach to Iowa, like I said. Problems with the playoffs. It's a relatively predictable one. The 25 simulations raise another possibility, which the real life committee will have to reckon. Sometimes there aren't just enough great teams. There just aren't enough. It's not just the 4-loss teams that regularly popped into the 25 brackets. In one season, Texas A&M earned a 10 seed despite going 7-5 and 0-3 against ranked opponents. The Aggies made the virtual committee look smart by upsetting Georgia and Missouri, 7 and 2 seeds, and advancing to the semifinals. In another season, Georgia got in as a 9 seed with a 7-5 record in a year when half the playoff came from the SEC. The Bulldogs, having wins over two CFP teams, Texas and Ole Miss, was good enough for a berth. Guess what they did next? They won 3 in a row and played for a national championship. So here's how it finishes. That probably sounds like an absurd outlier, an outcome only a video game could conjure. But after doing this 25 times, though, I've learned my lesson. In this brand new world of the 12-team playoff, it's too early to call anything possible.
Ooh.
Impossible, sorry. Yeah. We don't know how this is going to go. And if you simulate it out 25 times, you're going to get some wacko results.
I like that he included that's one of the interesting things is we've also never seen a 12-team playoff. Mm-hmm. Like, as fun as it is to have the video game back. Like,
I don't think the criteria for selecting teams changes, but there's just more teams. Mm-hmm. And maybe there's less, good teams than we think there's going to be. But we do get more football games. That much is for certain. All right, we'll come back. Brian Christopherson will join us on the other side. I got some texts, too, that we can get to in the noon hour.
I got a couple college football nuggets that happened during that segment as well.
Good.
Nuggies.
Also, continue to send us your random teams that we can name people from. Next on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, Brian.
Brian Christopherson.
I gotta take this. It's Hap.
B-Rye, B-Rooney, drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry.
Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7 on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
I feel like Brian Christopherson is the guy who would appreciate this. So, BC, first of all, hello. Let's turn him on first. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So, we asked at the beginning of the show, since it's a Friday in July, for people to just text in a random team, and then we just name guys from it for once a segment. And so we've got a couple baseball teams. We did the 2005 Creighton basketball team, and the next one that we've gotten as a request would be the 2006 Indianapolis Colts that we got on the text line there. 2006, the 2006 Indianapolis Colts. Can you tell me, BC? I'm going to put you on the spot. Who was the Indianapolis Colts running back in 2006?
It wasn't Edger and James, was it?
No, we're one past that, I believe.
I can't think of it.
Joseph Adai.
Oh, and I had some two good fantasy years with Joseph Adai. I should have known that. Bob Sanders is who I think of, right? He was in that secondary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dwight Freeney.
Squad. Oh yeah.
It's a good
Terrible
one.
Super Bowl.
So just so we can finish the bit here. One of my favorite guys that I like to name of all time, Ricky Prohl, was actually on that team. Joseph Adai, Dominic Rhodes. You still had 34-year-old Marvin Harrison. You still had Reggie Wayne, Ben Utecht, Dallas Clark, Brandon Stokely. There's some real names in here.
Booger McFarland.
Yeah. And then Vinatieri was their kicker, and they also had Grammatica for a couple games as well. Defense, though, was awesome. So, yeah, you had Booger, you had Bob Sanders, you had Cato June, you had Robert Mathis. I mean, yeah, so there you go. There's guys naming dudes once again here on a Friday.
Yeah, that team, that Super Bowl was horrible. That was the year the Bears got in. I'm not here to diss Bears fans. I mean, but it was just a team that I didn't feel like was really Super Bowl caliber. I think Hester returned the opening kickoff, right? And then It was just all Colts after that, like in a rainstorm.
Yep. It was the rainy Super Bowl. I think it was in Miami. Was that the Prince one, Josh? Yep, it was.
I'm not sure. Okay, so there was your highlight right there, the Prince halftime show.
Indeed, that was a team. It's not really a random team because they won the Super Bowl, but yeah, it is.
I mean the Bears being.
Yes, the Bears being in the Super Bowl is always going to be pretty random. That's for sure. BC, we were just discussing before the break how interesting it might be. I mean, we're all about playing out the scenarios here. We have a 12-team playoff, and Nebraska could be at the very, very high end of things, a 10-ish win team. I wonder what you think about the idea of those type of teams, right? The maybe we didn't make the conference championship game, but we won 9 or 10 games, and we're in either the Big Ten or the SEC. Those teams are going to be probably knocking on the door of the playoffs now, and I wonder sort of how. I mean, that will mix in with everybody else and what the criteria for the selection of it will be. I just think we're going into the season where, everything kind of changes as far as how teams are judged now. It's all in the playoff.
Yeah, we're going to have to kind of figure it out as it goes. I saw someone write something and they had the data to back it up that showed, I've sometimes said, well, like a 9-3 team could sometimes get in. And this person made a pretty good case that wouldn't happen a whole lot. You're going to have to get to like 10-2 basically, which I think is good because I've always liked college football having sort of a small margin for error. Like I love that we have a playoff, but I also want the regular season to be such where we don't have deals where you have like 8-4 teams in it. Like I'm not for that. I do think if it's a question of like, okay, there's this worry that some teams, because of their name brand, are going to get preference over others. I think that's valid until they show that it's not. Like I always kind of wonder about that with Selection Sunday with hoops, even though they really push back that that's not a part of it. I mean, I always get a little like I feel like it's a little too coincidental. Like with March Madness, that the 8-9 seed game is always like a Michigan State type program, you know, like that could give the 1 seed a good game. So I do wonder about that with the name brand thing with college football, but I also think Nebraska has a brand that people would be excited if like they had a resurgence and were like back in the hunt. I actually think it would be kind of a favorable deal for Nebraska in that sense, that I think there'd be some momentum behind this program that some people grew up with that was really good, and now they're kind of back on the scene. Like people like that when someone reemerges that was a team from their youth or another or yesteryear. So I don't think Nebraska will get slighted if it's like comes down to like we're talking about names and all that stuff. I think Nebraska will have like some people who are outside our bubble who are kind of excited that they're in contention again.
Media days next week. It'll be good to hear from you guys and all the coverage from Indianapolis. What do you expect to be the tone? I wonder like how much the idea of urgency will be conveyed from Matt Rule, knowing that they went 5-7 last year, and I think to an extent that he kind of likes it. They bottomed out a little bit on offense. They've changed a lot. I just wonder how much he'll be asked about it. Obviously, the necessity to make that not only the small improvement of going from 5-7, but a nice big jump this year, and how kind of important that is. And he won't talk about win totals or anything like that, but the urgency to win now. I wonder how much that'll come up.
I do think he'll reiterate what he's said on the record a few times, and what he said he has told his team is, let's make what was year 3 for basically him and his staff elsewhere, year 2 here. Make year 4, year 3. Like, you're 1 year ahead of it. And in a way, even though last year was kind of disappointing where it feels like they let some games slip and should have been like maybe a 7-win team or something like that, even the 5-7 mark for where they've been with like Baylor and Temple in their first years is an improvement. And so if you kind of look at their track record of how they jump from season to season at their previous stops, there's no wonder they're thinking like, why not make this a 9-win type of season or something like that? That's sort of been in our background. I don't think, like you say, he's going to name and win total. I'm sure he won't, but I do think he'll stress that general point of like, why not now? Let's take our shot. Let's see what we're at. Don't have to make big talk about how you're going to be a college football playoff team or something like that. But I think you can embrace the idea that this is a new era of college football. You want to build belief in your team that you can be one of those guys at the end of it. And I know, like in their facilities on the video boards, when we were walking through there the one day, they had the playoff bracket, a really nice playoff bracket of where the games are, and it was just on the board, like in the back rooms and stuff. So that's something they put in front of their players. So I don't think it would be a topic they would run from in discussion at media days. Will
Matt Rule be able to continue to tamp down the questions and the hype about Dylan Raiola?
Probably not, but I think you can just speak the truth about what Dylan has probably shown them and players so far, is that he's a guy who is not resting on his laurels or like cares about, I was rated this, as this 5-star and all that. Like it's old news. Like he's somebody who went to work, I think has earned the respect of his peers. And I think you can just speak on that and say the rest will take care of itself. And I've always made the point, as much as we talk about Dylan Raiola, and that's a big storyline, as much of this season is going to ride on those guys who have unfinished business. Your Isaac Giffords, your Ty Robinsons, who came back for one more season. And we sometimes act like, oh, this is just automatically going to be a top 10 defense. They got to go be that. Like, you got to have those dudes who can make it that. And if they are, that eases a lot of pressure on your quarterback, right? Like if you have that number 8 ranked defense or something like that, Dylan Raiola doesn't have to be Superman. And I kind of made that argument with our indispensable list because I know some people thought we had Raiola too low, and I understand that point of view. But I think both are important themes. There's the Raiola part where obviously you want him to take a nice step for that quarterback spot, but you also need those veteran guys to sort of hold down the fort and create the new, like, this is where Nebraska is going to be now. We're going to be an 8-win plus team type of program, and we're going to start it this year. And if those guys play their part, your Jamari Butlers and those type of guys, the offense could rank 65th or 70th this season, and it would still be a huge step. And combined with a really great defense, you'd have a pretty good season. So I think, they can easily talk about how Dylan goes to work, but then also stress, like, this has got to be a very complimentary football team this year to be what you want to be.
I'm glad you mentioned the defense too, because last one for you, BC. I was thinking about this, and we'll talk about it later in the show. How much the offense not turning the ball over as much as they did last year or extending drives, whatever it might be, is going to help this defense that we all, that looks very similar to what it was a year ago. So I checked my drive chart here that I had tracked from last year. Just about 20% of the opponent's drives last year were they obtained the ball from a Nebraska turnover. And wow. That's an insane number. That kills your field position. I can remember a lot of times, just anecdotally, they're all backed up. And so, off of that, 50% of those drives ended in points. When the opponents got the ball off of a turnover, they were scoring some points half of the time. And so I just think that does wonders for a defense that we all already think is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, that was the Colorado game in a nutshell, too. Like, give it away, and they got points off of it. I think another big thought connected to that's a good stat, Hap, but is like you're going to have these situations where you pin a team inside the 10-yard line, and this is where this defense now taking that next step, if they're going to be great, they got to be that unit that in those situations really capitalizes and gets those 3 and outs, and you give your offense back to short field, and you play that Big Ten type of football very successfully. Like, your defense just rises to those moments when you have the long field at your advantage, and maybe get some of those takeaways that Iowa's always specialized in, where you pin someone deep and then you take it away in their red zone, and there you go. That ends up being the difference in the game. So I think that's the next step for this defense. I thought they actually did pretty well. I'd have to look at inside the numbers. You probably might have them as far as like sometimes bowing up when put in tough spots.
Yep.
But now I think they know, and it shows in their takeaways. We can talk about the offense's terrible stat, and it's very true, but with turnover margin, this needs to be a defense that takes it away 20 plus times this year, as opposed to like 13 or 14. So that's a big thing for them to answer. So everybody's got their box to check if this is going to really take a step. And I think at this Media Days event, you're going to get some of that from those defensive guys, from GIF, and just like, this is our expectation. We're going to have to do our job, and we're confident that the young quarterback will take care of himself, but we got to set him up in good situations too.
BC, appreciate it as always. Great stuff. Enjoy the trip out to Indy. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Brian Christopherson of Husker 247. We will dive further into those numbers a little bit later on. I know it's a little bit hard to swallow, but once again, we'll do this in just a few minutes, but just to tease it out there, I was thinking about the way that Nebraska's offense was going to help their defense this year. We oftentimes look at it in the reverse. Their offense is going to help out their defense simply by, not fumbling the snap and not fumbling less, turning the ball over less, generally being more efficient, right? You're going to put your defense in tough spots every now and then. But remember, Nebraska turned the ball over 1 billion times last year, and 20% of the drives that all the opponents had against Nebraska came off of Nebraska turnovers, and 50% of those, 48%, I should say, of those times they scored. points at all. And so, and he mentioned, I have this stat too, like field position stuff. The defense was able to bow up a lot last year, but man, wouldn't it be nice if it's just I think it's more of a feeling than anything, right?
A vibe.
Just don't feel like your back's up against the wall. Like, crap, opponent's got it on the 36-yard line and they already had a field goal in their back pocket. We got to do something amazing. Don't you think that would lead to more turnovers if Nebraska's defense was playing a little downhill, had better field position, had normal rest in between possessions? I don't know. Maybe that's where you could really make the case that those turnovers will start coming this year for them. But we'll talk about that more in just a few minutes. First, Josh has the odd news. We still have openings for random teams. I got a couple still on deck. So we probably got 2 or 3. We could use 2 or 3 more. Send them in. 951-1620. Back with the odd news on 1620 The Zone.
And now we've reached the point in the show where Josh Odson reads the peculiar, the bizarre, the comical, the odd news with Odd Son. Odd news, Odd Son. See what we did there? The odd news with Oddson.
All right, two quick things here before the odd news.
A couple quickies.
Number one, rando team. From the text line, texter from the 843.
Hi, 843.
That's in South Carolina.
We're huge in South Carolina.
We are huge in South Carolina.
Gamecock country loves us. Or it might be Clemson country. I don't know.
They'd like to talk about the 1995 world champion Atlanta Braves.
Oh, let's go. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, the problem with this team is that
it's a who's who.
Well, they're so good, right? So, I mean, you have Maddox and Glavin and Smoltz and Chipper and David Justice and Javi Lopez.
Oh, yeah.
And Ryan Klesko and Fred McGriff.
There it is, crime dog.
All right. But here's what's interesting. There's more.
There's more.
So we got to get to the other random baseball names that are on this list. Like Mark Lemke. Like Marquise Grissom. Like Rafael Belliard.
Oh, you're taking me back.
Like Jose Oliva. Like Mike Mordecai.
Oh.
Like Mike Devereaux. Like
give me Mark Wohlers.
There you go, Mark Wohlers. Nice. Steve Bedrosian. It's a good one.
Eddie
wow,
Perez.
Daryl May pitched 2 games for this team. A future Kansas City Royal after this. Yeah, pretty good rotation.
Bullpen coach, guy by the name of Ned Yost.
Oh, Ned, we love you, Ned. We love you, Ned.
Of course, Leo, the pitching coach.
Starting rotation, Greg Maddox, Tom Glavine, John Smoltz, Steve Avery, Kent Merker. Closer, Mark Wohlers. Relief pitchers, Greg McMichael, Brad Klontz, Pedro Borbone, and Steve Bedrosian. They also, Mike Stanton pitched on this team, the original Mike Stanton. Not Giancarlo Stanton being Giancarlo, but a different person entirely. This guy later pitched, I believe, for Josh Peterson's favorite team, the 2001 Yankees.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was on that team. He was an all-star that year, in fact.
Can I take you through just a couple nuggets from that playoff run?
Sure.
They played the Rockies in the NLDS that year.
Was this the first year of the Rockies?
95 NLDS. It would be close.
I think it was the third year of the
Yeah.
Rockies. The Rockies existed for the first time in 1993.
That series started on October 3rd, Connor.
Yeah.
The Atlanta Braves swept the Cincinnati Reds in the NLCS. That series ended on October 14th.
I love that.
11 days.
Suck it, NBA.
Game times of the NLDS, 319, 308, 316, 238.
Back when we were men.
Yeah. 318, 326, 242, 254 game times for the NLCS. Seems pretty normal.
All right, good random team.
Yeah.
We'll still take your suggestions. The other thing that I wanted to hit here before the odd news was that apparently Josh is reporting news while he's sitting in his chair over there.
Oh, yeah. I was listening to you and talk to BC about, it was a good conversation. It was a good conversation, but you didn't break any news.
All right. Jeez. Kind of sound like President B there.
I'm on the horse. Let me.
What's going on? What are you reporting?
Well, a computer glitch has hampered airline travel for many.
Yes.
Across this great nation.
Don't yell at your flight attendants.
No, yeah, they don't have anything to do with it. It's not their fault. I know. You got to get to Florida. I know. It's the most important thing in the world. But WWE coming into town tonight to film 2 episodes of SmackDown. Spoiler alert for what to watch tonight. Many thought, oh, well, flights are grounded all over this great nation of ours. How can the wrestlers get to town? I have confirmed with a source on the ground at Epley that a WWE branded plane has landed at Epley in plenty of time for this evening's 2-episode taping.
Could you imagine
at the CHI Health Center?
Could you imagine?
Not the Steel House, by the way.
If you told me your source on that person would get absolutely fired.
Absolutely.
Or was it just a person waiting for their flight out?
It is just a regular Joe Schmo who doesn't have a private jet and can't fly wherever.
They're waiting for their flight out.
Yeah.
They're looking at the big window at Cracky McGee's and they're saying, "Oh, look, there's a WWE plane. That's weird."
Jet. Oh, landing right there.
So it's not a source. It's just a person. It's just luck.
That is a source.
It's a source. Anything can be a source, I guess.
Yeah.
You're not going to say who your source is?
You don't. I don't. I'll go to jail before I name my source.
Like Will McAvoy on Newsroom.
Yes.
He literally did that.
Exactly like that.
That show got weird in season 3. I really liked the first 2 seasons, though.
Many do.
All right. Odd news.
Odd news. We begin with we go to Denver, where an orange lobster in now follow me on this because it gets confusing. Pueblo, Colorado, received a shipment of lobsters at the Red Lobster.
Yes.
They pulled them all out. One of them was an orange lobster at the Red Lobster. They've said
all orange lobster?
Well, like a reddish orange hue. This one is orange.
Okay.
Like Denver Broncos orange. And they said, we cannot possibly, in the state of Colorado, cook this Denver Broncos orange colored lobster. We need to give it to the Denver Aquarium. And they have. And now Denver Broncos fans are flocking to see the orange lobster.
Okay. I got to see this. What's going on?
The Pueblo Zoo could not take Crush, the orange lobster, because of the Orange Crush.
No kidding.
Nickname.
1 in 30 million.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely rare orange lobster found in Pueblo, Colorado.
The zoo said, no, we can't take it. We don't have the facilities. They instead called the downtown aquarium afterwards.
They put it on a serving plate to pose with it.
Yeah, they did do that.
I'll put that up on the stream here real quick because it's pretty funny.
As soon as they acclaimed him to his quarantine tank at the Denver Aquarium, he was very active right off the bat and explored his little area. The head of the aquarium, the Red Lobster guy,
Mr. Lobster,
who called the aquarium looking for a home for Crush, the orange lobster. He'll be examined by a vet, and after 30 days in quarantine, Crush will be placed in the Lurks exhibit that houses other cold water North Atlantic Ocean species, aquarium staff said.
I got to be honest with you. This doesn't seem that cool. I appreciate the fact that it is as rare as it is, but honestly, it looks like a pretty regular lobster to me.
It isn't that different, is it? But apparently, it's 1 in 30 million.
1 in 30 million lobster.
Now, if I'm working at the Red Lobster,
why can't I get this thing on
here? I'm sitting here.
What kind of file does it have to be for me to put this on here? Does it have to be a PNG?
PDF.
Okay, here we go. Let's save it again.
If I'm working at the Red Lobster, I'm like, this place is about to close. I got to unload these lobsters. I don't want to be here. I would look at that lobster and go, okay, I guess that's I don't think it's the wrong. It's not like when you hear about a blue lobster and you're like, oh wow, or a albino white lobster.
Yeah,
I would just throw it in.
She's sideways.
Everybody turn your head.
What? Damn it! I suck at this. Somebody get the director of video on this. Why did it come in sideways?
I don't know, Connor.
All right, there she is. There's the GM of the Red Lobster in Pueblo and her orange lobster.
Does seem kind of cruel to put it on that plate like that.
Feels like they could have got more money on this.
More money?
They could have got more money out of it. You got to sell it.
You got to do it for the team. They're hoping John Elway shows up and like, hey, I brought you some season tickets.
Don't you think it's possible that the reason that this lobster is so rare is because most of the time when the restaurants get an orange lobster, they just cook it and eat it like normal lobster?
Yes, entirely.
Gotcha.
We go to Florida for story number 2. Following recent reports about a male intruder sleeping inside a Vero Beach apartment complex stairwell An officer on foot patrol yesterday found the suspect standing inside a common room at around 3 a.m. Gregory Gornell, 44 years young, was, and this is in quotes, fully nude, according to an arrest report, and told police that he was staying at the facility because he was the emperor's helper. Gornell reportedly told the officers...
That's drugs, folks.
Yes. That the building, an independent living community for residents over the age of 62, was under new management and that the emperor told him he could stay there. Gornell, who had previously been trespassed from the building, was asked how to get in contact with the emperor. The suspect advised that such royal outreach could be done through the electric lines.
All right. Good story. This guy's on a lot of drugs.
Yeah. It's not mentioned in the story, the drugs, but clearly it's the drugs. Clearly. Finally, Connor, if I asked you the question, what is Hello Kitty? What would you respond back to me?
A brand.
It is a brand, yes. There's a Hello Kitty figure. You've seen a Hello Kitty figure before? Yes.
I have seen the Hello Kitty, yes.
And you would say to me that that's very clearly a kitty or a cat of some kind, yes?
I believe that Hello Kitty is a kitten, yes.
Well, on the 50th anniversary of Hello Kitty, fans were shocked to learn that their beloved cat-inspired character is, in fact, not a feline at all. Jill Cook, the director of retail business development at Sanrio, the creators of the iconic cartoon, told the Today Show, she's actually a little girl.
She's not, though.
In fact, she's a tiny girl who weighs 3 apples and stands 5 apples tall.
Does she identify as a cat?
Great question. Raised in the London suburbs with her twin sister Mimi, the parents, and even her own pet cat. That's terrible.
What makes
grammar.
her a girl? What about this makes her a girl? That's my question.
Several TikTok comments. Not a cat. She's actually a little girl. According to anthropologist and author Christine R. Yano, the Japanese and Japanese women were into Britain at the time of Hello Kitty's conception. They loved the idea of Britain. It represented the quintessential idealized childhood, almost like a white picket fence. So the biography was created exactly for the taste of the time. Again, adding that Hello Kitty is a little girl. I don't have an answer for you, Connor.
All right. Cool.
Feels like
doesn't really change anything. Yeah, feels a little late. Doesn't really change anything for me. But I'm glad they got that word out there.
I'm sure it'll stick. I'm sure America's hearts and minds will change.
Frankly, I mean, maybe it's fine because I haven't cared to ever think about whether the Hello Kitty is a kitty at all. I just say Hello Kitty.
It's Hello Kitty. It must be, and it looks like a cat. It must be a kitty cat.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, yes, many people are telling me the difference between a cooked lobster and a non-cooked lobster. Yeah,
guys,
that's just what a lobster looks like. Yes, when it's cooked, it gets red as it gets cooked. Lobsters are like gray. Lobsters are gray and black, and they look disgusting.
Yeah,
but then you boil them up, and they go.
If you stay quiet enough, you can hear them scream.
Then they
throw them in
turn
the pot.
Orange. It's definitely unique, definitely random. All right, we will come back. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Connor.
Noon hour. We have another random team to talk about, and that defense thing we were talking about a little bit before. Can the offense help the defense get better? Is that the path of the defense getting better this year? We'll talk about it next on 1620 The Zone. All right, poll question up at Happer Show. Did you know Hello Kitty was a little girl?
No.
That's up.
How could you?
I probably thought it was a kitty the entire time because of the whiskers. I didn't know little girls had that.
Feels like a dead giveaway.
Random team for this segment is, this one's in from Amazing Daniel, the 2016 USA Men's Olympic Basketball Team.
Oh.
Who went 8-0 in their path to a gold medal at the 2016 Rio Olympics. Their leading scorer, was
it Melo?
Okay. So their leading scorer was Kevin Durant.
Oh, okay.
And then it was Melo.
Yeah. When people make the case for Carmelo Anthony, they always include he's one of the best
He's really good at Olympics.
Really good at Olympics, yeah.
He's the only guy who just needs to get his shots up constantly, all the time. Kyrie Irving, Paul George, Klay Thompson, DeMarcus Cousins,
hell yeah,
DeAndre Jordan, DeMar DeRozan, Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, Harrison Barnes, and Draymond Green.
Harrison Barnes, the worst player on that team?
Harrison Barnes might be.
And
Kyle Lowry, I mean,
yeah.
Once you get past the best six dudes, you're probably just you're exclusively going for guys who could fit very, very specific roles. And Kyle Lowry can definitely bring that to the table. So can Draymond. And Harrison Barnes could do that a little bit as well, I suppose.
Now, this is going to shock you, Connor.
Yes.
A young man by the name of Anthony Davis was scheduled to be on that team, but in March 22nd,
that's weird,
he withdrew due to injury.
Oh,
can you believe
that?
It's
pretty
Connor?
shocking. Pretty shocking. This team, in the span of 2 weeks in 2016, beat China, Venezuela, Australia, Serbia, France, Argentina, Spain, and then Serbia again to win a gold medal.
Take that, Jokic.
They had a few blowouts, so they beat the living hell out of China and Venezuela. But then, close with Australia, close with Serbia, close with France, beat the crap out of Argentina, close with Spain. The Spain rivalry thing was a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so they beat him in the semifinal, and then beat Serbia in the gold medal game.
By 30.
By 30, indeed. Now, if the question would have been, can you name the guys on the 2016 Serbian national team, that would have been potentially more fun. Nikola Jokic was there.
I got you one. He was not the team's leading scorer in that final.
No, it was a guy named Nemanja Nedovic.
I don't really have their 2016 roster.
They had Bojan Bogdanovic. Or no. Well, so there's two guys named Bojan Bogdanovic. There's
That's confusing.
And then there's Boban.
Oh. Which one was in
John
Wick?
This is the Kings one, I think. He played for a lot of teams too. I don't know what we got to get Padilla on the horn or something like that. Tell us the difference between
Yelling at his
the
radio.
various Boyans and the Bogdanoviches. Okay, so there you go. The 2016 USA Olympic basketball team was our next on the random teams.
I do recognize quite a few of these names.
Oh yeah, there's
yeah.
A lot of names that end in C.
Yeah, a lot of that guys. In fact, Connor.
Yes.
2 players on the team have a name that does not end in C.
Just 2?
Yes.
Who can you try?
One of them is Greek. The other is Italian.
That's the other thing about the Olympics.
Or I guess played in Greece.
Nobody actually does that. Nobody plays for their own country.
It's like the World Baseball Classic.
It is.
Freddie Freeman wants to think he's Canadian. He can be Canadian.
Indeed. Nicky Lopez, he's Italian.
He's Italian.
That makes sense. All right, so I was listening to the Pot Roast Man talk last night, and he's the CEO of Death Row.
Uh-huh. I know what that means now. Everybody.
Yes, that's what they're calling their defensive line. I actually didn't know that at the time either.
I like it.
So I
like it a lot.
Thank you to the internet for telling me about this.
I'm an idiot. It's okay.
So I was thinking about how good that defensive line is going to be. Nash and Ty, and Jamari Butler, and some guys who came along last year like Lenhart and Prince Will and Riley Van Poppel. Remember Riley Van Poppel's stop against Illinois?
You won't let me forget.
I will never. That was the big moment. That was the moment of the season. That might have been the moment of the season, Josh.
I will not play this game with you.
You don't want to try and think about what the moment of the season was last year? I
do kind of.
Think of anything that happened in 2023 to Nebraska football.
That first touchdown pass.
The weird one from Jeff Sims where he had to pick it up off the ground.
Yep.
Honestly, that's one of the first ones that I thought of too.
I thought, if he can do that, we're
good. No.
Look at the skill. Look at the skill set.
Oh no.
He made me believe for a matter of minutes. First half of Colorado was pretty fun.
First half of Colorado was more scary than fun.
Yeah.
You felt like it was teetering.
Yeah.
Basically that entire time.
But I do remember it.
Yes, I do.
Sunday practice.
I noticed you haven't mentioned this goal line stop by Riley.
I just got to Michigan. I actually did watch that whole Illinois game in the hotel room.
Chubba's pick against Maryland. Those are like top 5.
Yeah.
We can get you top 5 going at some point. So anyway, defensive line is going to be good. The defense returns, a lot of pieces. They theoretically, it is okay to hold them in the expectation of what they set forth for last year. We always have our friend Max Olson here we've already mentioned a previous story that he's done today, but he is the man in charge of publishing the stop rate, which is a really good stat, just defensively, your basically defensive efficiency. Nebraska finished 17th in the country in stop rate last year. Pretty good. It's a top 20 defense by pretty much every metric, with the exception of turnovers gained. So I was thinking about, all right, is the defense going to be able to repeat what they did? There's some things working against it. The book is out on Nebraska. The 3-3-5 isn't quite as novel as it was a year ago. People have studied the tape. They know where things are coming from, and they know where they're going. They know where they're coming from, Cotton Eye Joe. And so you don't have the element of surprise anymore. I think that's notable. But you didn't have it at the end of last year, and they kept on getting better and better and better as the season went along. So maybe that one doesn't stand. But I get it. And so is it possible that the defense is better even statistically this year? I've been actually under the impression that the defense might take a step back. The offense will get better. Mm-hmm. They'll throw it around the yard a little bit more. They might score a little bit more quickly. It'll just be regular circumstances. But I was thinking about that more, and I thought that's actually not an argument for the defense to get worse. It's an argument for the defense to get better. Like I said to BC, so Nebraska turned the ball over 31 times last year. And Nebraska's defense had to face a grand total of 140 offensive drives a year ago. Nebraska's opponents obtained the football via a turnover 27 times last year. So the other 4 must have resulted in the end of the half or the end of a game or a pick 6 or a fumble 6 or something like that. I can't account for those other 4 that were missing. Anyway, so they obtained it 27 times via turnover in the 140 drives that they faced a year ago. That's more than any other way that opponents obtain the ball against Nebraska outside of a regular old kickoff. Which I guess that's the only. There's turnover on downs. There's missed field goals and fumbles and punts I should say punts thrown in there too. Anyway, not important. I got caught up. So just under 20% of opponents' drives last year against Nebraska's defense were obtained via a turnover. 20% of all of them, Josh. I mean, that's nuts. It's a big number.
Big number.
Big number. And 48% of those drives, nearly 50% of those drives ended in points. So I think about the defense's ability to really bow up from time to time and make things like that happen. Either way, you're putting your defense in bad position that much. It's going to blow up in your face eventually. The dam will break. The dam broke against Colorado in week 2.
Yes.
Last year, right? They just kept putting them in bad spots and they kept having to run back on the field. The lasting image from that game, it's just the defense running back onto the field all of the time. And so, it makes a lot of sense, but it's good to put a number to it. The worse position that you put your defense in, the better chance the opponent has to score. Theoretically, Nebraska cuts that turnover margin or that turnover number, 31 of them last year, at the very least in half this year.
I'd like to see that.
And then all of a sudden, we're not talking about as many points on the board. Nebraska's opponents also started drives on average at about the 32-yard line. That might not sound like much compared to normal, but compared to Nebraska, they started on the 28. That's 4 yards of difference throughout, just averaged out throughout the entire season. Once again, might not seem that big, but it is. All of this is to say, Nebraska's defense was good in spite of their offense a year ago. What if their offense works for them? And that's what Rules talked about a little bit this offseason. He said, we're going to be a program that's always good at defense. If I'm here, we're going to be good at defense. And our offense will be fine. Our offense will be fine. What is that? It's another version of saying, this is a defensive-oriented program. We are going to be geared to have success on defense. You know what's not geared to have success on defense? 31 offensive turnovers. And yet they still did have success last year. And so just imagine if it's a group that physically is as good as they were last year, if not better. Maybe there's more deficiencies in some areas. Maybe there's more efficiencies in some areas. But doesn't have an offense that is constantly dragging like an anchor, just tossing it out. Put that anchor back. No, thank you. Dunk into the sea every single time. That's what the offense did when they had the ball.
I'm going to ask you a question that I don't know if you have the answer to about those.
Sure, I got to come up with
of
something.
Those 31 turnovers.
Yeah.
How many times did the opposition start the drive in Nebraska territory?
Oh boy. Okay, hold on. Let me see.
Okay.
So
I agree with you. Anecdotally, it felt like, oh my gosh, like they turned it over at their own 10. Oh my gosh, they're gonna score here.
That would be a good number to have. I can just tell you field position stats in general.
Okay.
Not just when they acquired it off of turnovers. I didn't go that deep.
Okay. That's okay. That's okay that you didn't.
They faced Nebraska's defense last year. Only faced, so this is what, 140 drives, did I say? 140 drives. Only 38 of them for the opposing team started inside their own 20.
What? One more time. I'm sorry.
38 of the 140 drives
Okay.
started in by the other team against Nebraska's defense started inside their own 20. That's good. That's positive field position for Nebraska. 47 of them started on the opponent's own 35 or greater.
Okay.
On their own 35 or so either. I mean, that's very good field position.
Mm-hmm.
You're starting on your own 35 or anything above that,
closer to the
closer to the end zone, for
closer
the
to
other team.
scoring.
Yes, that
there are 2 end zones.
Indeed, that's that is true. That's too many. That's too many.
Yeah.
So I don't have the turnover number specifically, but my God, I mean that's
not good.
Pretty baffling
good.
stuff. Pretty
Almost-
baffling stuff.
Almost seems mathematically impossible
And like
to
I said,
duplicate.
like the numbers didn't necessarily come out to be that bad for the because I put this drive chart together mostly to show either how bad the offense was or how good the defense was, and when I was putting the defensive one together, I expected the defensive numbers to look a lot worse, and they didn't. So they really held up in spite of their offense just dragging and dragging and dragging and dragging. They're pulling them along. And they kind of held up for the majority of the season if you average it out over the entire season. Like I said, just imagine if you don't have the little kid in the back of the car just like putting his hands over your eyes. Daddy, drive the car without looking. That's what the offense was doing to the defense last year.
damn kids.
I will turn this car around. That's what the defense should have said last year. They should have just got out and said, I am going home, and walked out and left their family on the road. But they didn't. They stayed in, and they kept driving all the way to Disney World, where they went 5-7. Steve Sipple is up next. We'll still take your random teams if you have them.
Just got one on the Twitter machine.
We got a few lined up, so we're getting close to having enough, so we'll still take yours. 951-1620. Sipple's on the other side on 1620 The Zone. I've seen a lot of pictures from this British Open.
Whoa.
The British Open.
Wow.
The Brits. And
Offensive.
they're playing this. Isn't it in Scotland actually, or somewhere? Where is it actually this year?
Look, if it's not at St. Andrews, I'm not paying attention.
You're not paying attention anyway, Josh. Who are you kidding? Come on, give me a break. Am I wrong?
Not necessarily.
Am I wrong?
No.
Is it at Royal Troon?
Yeah. What is that?
That's one of them. They go through a rotation of like 8 of them.
I had no clue.
Why is it so difficult to find the answer to this?
There's so many Royal Troons out there.
It is at Royal Troon. So at Royal Troon, which is in Scotland, they have placed this golf course right next to an airport, and there are planes flying over, gigantic planes flying over constantly. I just saw a picture of what looked like the plane was enlarged and magnified by 20 at least. Nope, real plane, just probably about, I don't know, 150 feet off the ground, just zooming in right as people are trying to putt on 18. Nice job, Scotland. Way to go. So Royal Troon Golf Club. Do you care to know where the British Open will be next year, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely.
In 2025? Well, it's at Royal Portrush.
Royal Port Rush?
Yes, it's in northern
Pork Rush.
Port Rush. And then 2026, it's at Royal Birkdale.
None of those are St. Andrews.
Correct. We were last at St. Andrews in 2022. It has been there 30 times. We got to get St. Andrews back in the books.
Is that not where everyone thinks this tournament's at?
Everyone thinks it's at St. Andrews every year.
Okay.
But it's not. It's kind of like the U.S. Open. They just change it up a lot.
Pinehurst. Pebble Beach.
All places that have hosted U.S. Opens. Good job, Josh.
I know my golf.
All right, from the Twitter, random team for this segment is going to be the 2007 Hawaii Rainbow Football Warriors.
Whoa.
That is from from Sal on Twitter. Thank you, Sal, for sending that in. He writes, Rando team, 07, 12-1 Hawaii football. If you were up late watching college football, you were in for a treat that year. Go Bows.
Now, this was the team that got smashed by Georgia in the Sugar Bowl.
That is correct. But if you talk to any person who's about my age, they'll tell you something about this team. And what's that thing they'll tell you? They'll say, man, Colt Brennan was one of the coolest quarterbacks I ever saw. And he was awesome. R.I.P., by the way. I believe he's passed.
Yes. Sadly.
Colt Brennan passed for 4,300 yards that year, which seems insanely low now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great number, obviously. Hawaii was able to make it through the season, just before we get to the names, was able to make it through the regular season undefeated, beat Washington. Now, why did they play that? Interesting. Why did they play Washington in December? Did they just add that game? Because they played they played an FCS team at the beginning, 2 FCS teams at the beginning of the season. They I don't know the circumstances around that. They beat Boise State, who was the other obvious, group of 5, small school to be in contention. Then they played Washington right at the end of the season. Maybe that was a previously scheduled game. And then they got drilled in the Sugar Bowl by Georgia. But Colt Brennan, leading rusher, who had 388 yards the entire year. Kiloha Pilares. That was the name I saw, and I'm like, dang, that tricked something in my brain. I don't really know what it was, but that was there. Leading receiver who had 1,300 yards that year, Ryan Grice Mullen. Second leading receiver with 1,200 yards, Devone Bess. I remember that name for sure. Third leading receiver with 1,100 yards, Jason Rivers. I I feel like I remember the name Inoke Funaki. Not sure why.
Oh.
Not sure why. They probably had some guys on defense as well that were. I think they had a fun OT.
Oh yeah, okay.
Is he any relation to Tony U?
Washington had a 21-0 lead at the end of the first quarter
when they came back
of that game. Very bad Ty Willingham team.
Nice. Tyrone Willingham. All right, that's your 07 Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. I think they had dropped the rainbow by that point too. I think they were the Warriors.
Yeah, just the Warriors is what the wiki
but the
says.
Sports Reference says that they were the Rainbow Warriors still.
Okay.
But you remember their jerseys, right? They had it was that kind of that deep green. They had cool helmets. I mean, Hawaii was really cool. If you hadn't started an NCAA football video game dynasty with Hawaii by that time, you were way, way late to the party.
Just running and gunning.
Way, way late to the party.
8 games on pay-per-view that year.
Dude, everything
for
it was 2007. Yeah. Everything was on pay-per-view. It's amazing.
I cannot find an answer for why Hawaii played Washington in Hawaii on December 1st.
And maybe it was just a previously scheduled game. I have no idea.
Like they were going to play in August or something.
Maybe Washington was like, hey, we're not going to go to a bowl game this year, so let's just go to Hawaii and play them.
Yeah, Hawaii was itching for a power win to make the BCS bowl games or something. I don't know.
Figure that out afterwards. All right, so we mentioned this a little bit earlier, and people started texting in their number 8s, their favorite number 8s. Reigning NFL MVP Lamar Jackson is challenging Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback Troy Aikman in his use of their shared number 8 in a U.S. Patent and Trademark Office complaint.
Oh.
Jackson, who owns or has applied for several trademarks using the number in various phrases, says Aikman's attempt to use 8, the spelled out EIGHT, on apparel and bags would be likely to cause confusion or cause mistake or to deceive the purchasing public as whether they're buying products from Jackson or Aikman's company. Jackson's attorney said in July 9th filings. Jackson has expended considerable time, effort, and expense in promoting, advertising, and popularizing the number 8 in connection with his personality and fame, and is well known by this number due to his notoriety and fame, along with his promotion of this number in his trademarks and in media coverage. Lamar Jackson says, I own number 8. When you think of number 8, you think of me. Now let's take this to the court of public opinion, Josh. You think of number 8? Who do you think of?
Kobe. Are we doing all sports or are we doing football?
No, we're doing all sports. It's number 8. I mean, my first one was actually Cal Ripken Jr.
Really?
Yeah, call me an old.
I will not lie. I know a lot of people are telling us all the great number 8s. After Kobe, I do think of Troy Aikman because I am at an age where I watched a lot of Troy Aikman football.
I never watched any Troy Aikman football.
Because you're a tiny baby.
I am. I'm a little baby boy. Lamar has applied for trademarks on multiple usages of the number 8, including Era 8 by Lamar Jackson, Era 8, You 8 yet? And a logo of a stylized wild dog over a shield with 2018 Era 8 by Lamar Jackson 2018 around the dog. Jackson's attorney says his trademarks of these sayings using the number were registered before Troy Aikman registered his 8, and that the products from Aikman's company are highly similar in sound appearance, connotation, and commercial impression to Jackson's trademarks. Oh, look who it is. No. Wait, okay, hold on. Let's just talk to him real quick. Hi, Sipple.
Hey, Happer, I'm a little late, I know.
That's okay. You're not too late. Can we call you back in like 5 minutes?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, we're going to call you in 5, but we're going to do it in the next segment, okay?
Okay, I'll be ready to roll.
Okay, bye.
This is the 8th segment of the show, so we had to talk about this story here.
Good one. I didn't even do that on purpose.
Oh, okay. I thought you did.
Nope. Just Sipple didn't answer the phone, and so I went to the next nearest thing I could say.
I just kept talking.
All right, so we're going to get to a random team, and we're going to talk to Sipple when we return on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
Steve Sipple,
Hey! The conversation gets even more uncomfortable, okay?
Omaha!
Steve Sipple on the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone.
All right, it's time to talk to our dear friend Steve Sipple, but first we have to get to a random team for this segment. Sipple, first of all, thank you for rejoining us. Hello.
Yeah, thanks for adjusting, as you are so kind to do so often.
Of course. Would you like to talk about the 2003 New York Knicks?
Ooh. Yeah, give me three names. Give me the three best Knicks players.
Latrell Sprewell, Allen Houston, and Kurt Thomas.
Okay, Thomas was a power forward by 6'11", 250. Sprewell and Allen Houston are similar players. I would say Houston was a great shooter. Latrell Sprewell was a great player, slashing forward. Great getting to the basket, active, probably really good defender, I imagine. So there you go. There's my. I remember all three of those guys.
Why you look so surprised, Josh? Josh looks surprised that you just ripped that off.
I'm a little surprised at the depth of Sipple's ball knowledge, and also at the same time I was looking at the roster online. I mean, Vin Baker, Penny Hardaway, Nazir Muhammad, Dikembe Mutombo.
Wait, hold on. Which Knicks team are you on?
0304.
Oh, I'm on 0203.
Okay.
I'm on 0203. I go by the second year. So yeah, they got a little better in 0304, it looks like. But there's some good ones in there too.
Thomas was the only one I'm a little, like, I'm 90% sure on him. Did I get it? Was he about 6'10", 6'11", big dude, 250?
Thomas, let's see. 6'9", 230. 6'9", 230.
A little bigger. They were a little smaller than I thought. Okay, that's all right.
That's okay. Yeah, I mean, he played bigger than that, I'm sure.
Those Knicks teams were super tough. I mean, Thomas and Sprewell are really tough dudes.
Yeah.
He was a great shooter, streaky shooter.
They went 37 and 45 under Don Chaney that year and did not make the playoffs.
Great. Yeah, not great.
Not great.
If those are your three best, that's not great.
Not going to be enough. Not going to be enough. Hey, we were just talking about. So thank you for playing along with us. We were just having people send in random teams that we can name guys from. By the way, do you have any suggestions? Would you like us to name random guys from a team later in the show?
Yeah, let me think of one.
Okay, you could.
I like the NBA. How about like the Pistons? Pistons of 95.
All right. We'll save that. The 95 Pistons, Josh. Hang on to that one, and we'll get to that later on in the show. I appreciate you playing along, Sipple. That's good. We were talking about the defense earlier because Terrence Knighton was talking last night, and man, he's ripping off all the names, and you're thinking, man, this defense is probably going to be pretty good again. We were looking, so they were 17th in stop rate last year. I mean, by pretty much all metrics, they were a top 20 defense. Do we have a good enough grasp yet on how much the defense this year will be helped by the fact that the offense will be theoretically, less? They'll be dragging them down less. I mean, I just don't think we can put into words what that might mean to this defense.
Yes. Now, this is the beauty of football. I mean, we say this to Happer a lot, is that these conversations aren't usually simple. Yeah, I mean, that'll help. The offense, you imagine, will be more efficient. It's more about how often the defense was put in precarious situations because of turnovers, right?
Yep.
That's a lot of it. Or just, but also general ineptitude by the offense that you don't expect to happen this year. Yeah, that could help the defense. But, the balance in the conversation is, and this is what coaches tell you, and you don't hear media talk about it a lot. You don't hear fans talk about it a lot. Year two, everybody knows Nebraska now. They know what Tony White's defense is about. They know what Nebraska's. I mean, offense is a little different conversation because the offense is going to look different. It's probably quite a bit different, but this is a defensive discussion. And Big Ten coaches, I believe, are the best set of coaches in the country. So that's a factor. It's always a factor. It's a factor that coaches always talk about. Year 2 is tougher because now they know you. And they're also familiar with the personnel because a lot of the personnel's back. So there's balance there. And there's also balance in that Ohio State's on the schedule now and USC's on the schedule. You have one really potent offense in Ohio State and one offense that you think probably be pretty good with Lincoln Riley running it at USC. So what are the numbers going to look like? Are they going to be skewed, because of those games? I don't know. But I think it could be a very good defense.
What about the personnel? I mean, you wrote about this a little bit in listening to Terrence Knighton talk, but I mean, it's not just those top line guys. They've been able to both have some stars up front on the defensive line and also develop some of the younger guys coming up. Josh always gets mad, but I always talk about the Riley Van Poppel stop against Illinois. I thought that was a huge play. It was a big play for them last year. Just some of those guys who might not have that many opportunities this year, but man, they have some real guys and a lot of them that can play along that line.
I think so. I think you're right. I mean, I know that those front line guys, Robinson and Nash, Hutmacher and Jamari Butler, I know what they have, and they're going to be very good. The guy to really watch is James Williams. I mean, and I'm not just saying that loosely. I don't know if I was on your show and said what Terrence Knighton told me, but Terrence Knighton it was in Belton, Texas, when we went down to the satellite camps. I had a lot of conversations with Terrence, and the James Williams discussion was incredible to me. I mean, they believe within the program that that's a budding star, a guy that really can get after the quarterback now, but also now is becoming more of a three down player. He can play on first and second down too, and that's what James Williams wants to do. That's definitely a name to watch. Van Poppel's definitely a name to watch. Sefo Lafutu, I think I got his name right, is one to watch. But those guys are really critical behind those starters. And I don't just sign off on them because of what Knighton's saying. But they do seem to have some depth. And it's a good looking line. It's a good looking front. I mean, I always say it every time, I'll say it again. The thing that I want to see is some greatness. That's some greatness. We saw good. And at times I think we saw very good. But you want to see All-American first round, that type of play where you say, okay, yeah, he's maybe working his way into the first round. We just haven't seen that in so long. I think we've almost forgotten what it looks like.
It's one of the things that Knighton mentioned about Hutmacher specifically, not necessarily him being an All-American or anything like that, but he sort of viewed him as a guy to plug up holes, big space eater up in the middle. But he was saying, maybe be able to give you a little bit more than that. That would be a huge deal.
Yeah, Happer, I thought that was the most interesting thing he said. I didn't know it. Now, maybe you did. I don't get everything. There's so much. I feel like with Nebraska, there's so much information out there all the time. But I hadn't heard Knighton say that they plan to move Nash off the nose. That was a huge revelation to me, that they will move him around a little bit more.
Yeah, I wouldn't have figured that would be a thing either.
Okay, good. So I wondered about that, if that was just some common knowledge that I didn't know. That was interesting. Oh yeah, and the other thing that was interesting is Elijah Judy. Judy's really important depth-wise, and he can be very explosive. He's a very good pass rusher. I mean, that's his forte. And he had it. He had a child. I think last year was a pretty challenging year for him. But he's smoothed out. His family situation smoothed out really well. and he's playing his best football according to Knight. Those are the kind of guys that are critical. Linhart is critical. Linhart, they regard him as a starter. But I'll tell you something right now. Here's what I like. I love Butler. I think Butler is an NFL player, Jamari. And Linhart's behind him, and they push each other every day. Great picture. It's a great picture because you know those two guys are good. We've seen enough of both of them to say, oh, yeah, they're legit Big Ten dudes. And they're both going to be better. That's a really good picture. Van Poppel and Nash is a good picture, too.
Mm-hmm.
That Nash gets pushed by Van Poppel. Van Poppel's a no-nonsense guy. There's a lot of those type of guys on the front end of that defense. So, yeah, if you're a Nebraska fan, I think the optimism about the defense starts with all those guys we're talking about.
Yep, lots to like up front, that's for sure. Sipple, we will let you go. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll let you know when we take a look at the 95 Pistons in a couple minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to turn that on. I'll turn it on.
Well, we have an interview first with the Northern Iowa voice, but you could stay around for the whole thing if you want.
Who's the Northern Iowa voice?
His name is J.W. Cox.
Okay. All right. I'll listen to that and then listen to the Pistons.
Perfect. Bye, Sip.
Perfect. Yeah.
Steve Sipple, HuskerOnline.com.
I wonder if he did this on purpose. Both that Knicks team and this Pistons team he gave us. Little tease. Both coached by Don Chaney.
I could see Sipple being a Don Chaney guy. I could see Sipple being like, Don Chaney. Yeah. Now that's a coach. That's an NBA coach. Don Chaney was pretty cool, though. All right. So we'll come back. We'll talk some Northern Iowa with the voice of the Panthers, J.W. Cox, as we continue on in summer school. And then we'll talk about the 95 Pistons and the 2002 Miami Hurricanes and whatever else you'd like to get into as we get you closer to the weekend and the Connor Happer Show on 1620 The Zone. Welcome back. Connor Happer, Josh Odson with you on a Friday edition of the Connor Happer Show here on 1620 The Zone and on 1620thezone.com. We continue on with summer school as we get closer to the camps opening up, college camps opening up in just a couple of weeks here, right around the corner. So we figured we'd take a closer look at Nebraska's schedule. And team number 2 is the Northern Iowa Panthers. Joining us now on the 42 Degrees Source Hotline is the voice of the Panthers, J.W. Cox. J.W., thanks for joining us. How are you today?
I'm great, guys. How are you?
Good. So what has the off season been like? I guess maybe we'll start here. Like, what's the vibe of the? I know it's a general, very generic question. What's the vibe of the program right now? Or is there good vibes? Is there bad vibes? How does it feel coming off of last year? Where are we at?
Yeah, I think it is general, but I think it's an apt question for us where we are. There's a lot of positivity and some optimism for kind of a fresh start in and around campus and the department. We've got a new athletic director. Our former athletic director moved on to take a job at Tulane, and so we got our athletic director hired in early May, and so she's been on staff and hit the ground running here in the community, and so that is, as change will do, if you look at it from a positive standpoint, it has kind of amped up some of that excitement and the momentum, and that will directly impact the football program. There's a flip side of that coin when you talk about our off season. There were some coaching changes that happened at the end of last year with coaches taking other positions elsewhere, all taking steps up and doing great things for their careers for some younger guys. But then obviously, as everybody knows, that leaves you with some holes to fill, and those were filled by spring ball, and then, as sometimes happens, some other life things came up for some of those guys, and so that's meant some other changes from the coaching staff. But there's the positivity of kind of the change and the newness of the overall athletic department, and then with Panther football, it starts with the head coach Mark Farley, who'll go into his 24th season. He if you cut his head open, footballs in purple and gold would fall out pretty much at this point. He kind of helps make this program go. He was a walk-on player here that turned into an all-conference linebacker, and he's been part of this staff except for about a 4-year stretch pretty much ever since he graduated. So he will drive this program. He is the motivating force of this program, and when you've got him at the helm, you've always got a chance. So there's some positivity. There's some things that have to be worked through, but I think everybody's excited. Like you said, here in a couple of weeks, the guys will have next week off, and then with our first game on August 31st, they'll get started the week after that. So it's going to be fun.
You mentioned some staff turnover. That's always been a thing at a school like Northern Iowa. If you have good coaches, they're going to go on and move on to take bigger jobs. What has it been like over the last couple of years, not just from the coach retaining standpoint, but also the player side of things? Like, has it been more challenging than you've expected it to be in this new kind of era of college football?
Yeah, I think when you load up both things at once, right? Because we know in where we are in college football, you are going to have turnover on your roster, turnover on your depth chart, and the Panthers certainly experienced that, whether it was graduation, mostly on the offensive side, and then the defensive side, yeah, there was a lot of key contributors that, again, they moved on. They all took bigger opportunities through the transfer portal as well. So you have new coaches that have to either get adjusted to what the scheme needs to be at the University of Northern Iowa, or are bringing in some of their own concepts. And then you've got players who have been multiple places. Sometimes at this point, certainly Northern Iowa, we'll have guys that have come in maybe a JUCO stop before they got to another Division I stop, and now they're here. And so they've heard a lot of different terminology. They've heard a lot of different schemes and ways of doing things. And so they have to get up to speed with just how it works here, and then focus in on what the coaches want them to do and what they want this team to look like on a given year. So I think it's added another element, because you're absolutely right. Changes happen season to season, even in consistent programs. There's differences year to year, right? But I think now you're compounding it with knowing that you're going to have newness on both sides of the equation, not just the coach side or not just the player side. They're all having to get together and figure out what it means to be at a particular program. And I know I talked about it already, but having some stability at the top certainly can help smooth some of that, because when you break down exactly what you want Northern Iowa to be, physical, tough, hard-nosed, this is your chance to go out and prove that maybe in the state of Iowa, if you're a guy who came in as a freshman, you were overlooked. If you're a transfer, you're someone who might have been overlooked at your last stop, and you come in with a little bit of a working mentality chip on your shoulder to see what you can do. And that's how Northern Iowa has been successful at their level over the years.
JW, you know as well as anybody, it's a heck of a challenge to play in the Missouri Valley Football Conference. And they Northern Iowa has also played, several of the regional FBS schools, Power 5 schools over the years as well. You've seen it all. I guess what would you say is the gap or an estimation of the kind of gap between that? Because it seems like Northern Iowa is generally able to hold their own when they go up against some of the big boys. I mean, you don't see a whole lot of really, really sideways scores. I guess why do you think that is? It's Northern Iowa's a team regionally who's known as a team that's going to put up a pretty good battle with you.
I think it stems from the culture of the athletic department as a whole, because you can expand that out from football with those head-to-head. A lot of people around the country, when they think of athletics in the University of Northern Iowa, they think of what our basketball team has done in the NCAA tournament over the years and making runs there. Our women's basketball team has been highly successful. Our wrestling program, which obviously is huge here in the Upper Midwest as well. It comes down to a culture of doing more with less. We might not have all the same resources. We might not have all the same advantages, if you want to say, of certainly bigger, higher dollar places where student athletes might go. But if you come here, you're going to work, and I think that work can be an equalizer. Yeah, there are lopsided scores. I'm not going to sit here and paint a picture that we're always out there knocking off bigger schools. But to your point of playing close and staying tough in games, I think it's that overall mentality of the student athletes that have come through here over the years, and the student athletes that we still have in all those programs that I mentioned. They're here to work, and they don't care what's stacked up on the other side, and maybe it's not going to go their way. But the quality of coaches we have, the quality of players and student athletes that we bring in here mean that you're going to get Northern Iowa's best. Anytime they roll the ball out, kick the ball off, unroll the mat, whatever it might be, you're going to get their best when you're facing.
Yeah, I'd say generally for like an FBS program, you would rather, if you're trying to get an FCS school, you'd rather go outside the region maybe, because you know what you're going to get out of that conference, and it's going to be really difficult. They're going to try and maintain possession and not make mistakes. Like there's really something to that, and a lot of schools in the Midwest and in the Big Ten have built their identities that way too, just with better players. But it seems to have trickled down. That's such a good conference.
Yeah, and you look at it, and the regionality of it is strong. You make a great point there, because if you look at it, if there's a player who's maybe on the bubble and might be maybe a preferred walk-on or just a walk-on at a Big Ten school, they might come here and get a scholarship, and then there's the extra motivation if and when they get the chance to go play that school that maybe wasn't ready to put them up to that scholarship level or show them, quote-unquote, to use a player's term, the love that they thought they deserved. It's not a chip on the shoulder doesn't translate into wins, but it is going to make you work a little harder and be a motivating factor. So I think that regionality is key. It's interesting to see kind of the recruiting history of some of these guys that end up at Northern Iowa, whether they're freshmen or transfers. And yeah, they went to the camps at Nebraska. They went to the camps at Iowa and Iowa State, and it's all the same recruiting pool. And it's just turning those guys into the players that they can potentially become. And you look at what University of Northern Iowa football has done over the years. That's why there are NFL draft picks that have been at the University of Northern Iowa, not because they came in as blue chip prospects as freshmen. It's because they came in here and bought into this system, and over the course of 4, maybe 5 years, worked themselves into someone who could be a prospect. That's the story of the latest one, Christian Boyd, defensive lineman who was here for 6 years, and he got drafted late in the draft last year by the New Orleans Saints. He's not a guy that was going to be a big-time multi-star athlete, but he came in here, he worked, and we have the infrastructure and the coaches and the support staff that are going to put these kids in a spot to succeed if they put in that work.
J.W. Cox is with us, the voice of the Northern Iowa Panthers. Nebraska takes them on in Game 2. You have, speaking of that, J.W., you have a very fun 3 or 4 weeks right there starting on September 14th. So a little trip to Lincoln and a big crowd and all that comes with that. And then hop on the plane. Let's all go to Hawaii for the week. And then come back home where you get the defending FCS national champions in South Dakota State. That's quite the run there from September 14th to October 5.
I'll tell you what, it is 100% fun if you're on my side of the equation or the fan side of the equation or boosters that get to go with us and things like that. But that is going to be a bear of a schedule for those players and those coaches. If you look at what we do, opening up at home, it's early, right? So you have to hit the ground running in camp, and we'll open on August 31st. It's the first time we've ever faced a Division I opponent at home in August. We've had some Division II games way back in the day. at home, but not a lot of times if we started so early. Then we go on the road to St. Thomas, and then it's 3 straight on the road, including let's go to Lincoln, and that's going to be an easy trip, right? And then Hawaii with everything that goes with it is going to be super fun. I just got an email the other day about, hey, do you want to attend the luau? Oh, sure, of course I want to attend the luau, right? Like, I mean, come on, you're not going to go to Hawaii and then not do the luau. So all of it is going to be such a great experience for these guys. It is going to be trying. You do get the bye week, which is obviously great, coming back from Hawaii. So they'll go 3 straight road games, get a bye, and then, welcome back to reality and kicking off your Missouri Valley Conference schedule with the defending national champs, couple time defending national champs, and a team the Panthers have played tough, and you'll get them at home. And so if there's ever a time, why not now? Why not us?
As far as personnel is concerned, I'm not sure how much you've dove into this yet, but you know what comes back, and we'll certainly get closer to this as the game gets closer. But what should Nebraska fans be concerned about the most when they look at Northern Iowa, their roster, and some of their players?
Well, it's going to be interesting. We'll go into camp with a true wide open quarterback battle, but once they set who that guy is going to be, one of the deepest positions, and if you put it in terms of who should you be worried about, is our wide receiving core. A lot of guys coming back in that wide receiver core, and even if you talk to Coach Farley and the coaches about their recruiting philosophy over the last couple of years, they could look and see that was going to be one of their most talented groups. And so they've done what they could, the best they could via the portal and via bringing in true freshmen to help bolster that and make sure they could utilize that, basically, knowing that there is talent out there on the edges that isn't always going to come around in this kind of bunches. Starts with a kid named Sergio Morency, who had a breakout season 2 years ago. Last year got off to a little bit of a slow start with a nagging injury, but then hit his stride again, had a really good quarterback the last 2 years by the name of Theo Day. It was a Michigan State transfer and a big arm and could sling it around. So a lot of these guys got an opportunity to benefit from that. And now whoever's back there in a system that, despite some of the coaching changes on the offensive side, still hearing that it's going to be an air raid style offensive system out of the Mike Leach tree, which is where some of the coaches that we have come from. That's going to give these opportunities to these wide receivers to really showcase what they can do. A guy was a true freshman last year, entering his sophomore season now, Jaden Ellis-Leahy, just absolutely smooth hands, can make every catch he needs to, has the speed to beat people down the field. That's what Sergio brings too. You mix that in with a couple of big physical Iowa tight ends who can also actually go up and get it as well. And this passing game with those wide receivers and those tight ends is going to be something to watch. No matter what happens in that quarterback battle, they're going to have some weapons on the outside.
Excellent stuff. Hope you have a great football season. I'm sure JW will do this again, maybe the week of the game, but you'll be a very busy man during that period of time. So if we don't talk to you again, we appreciate you doing this. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon. We wish you good luck this year.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, guys. Can't wait.
JW Cox. He is the voice of the UNI Panthers.
All those fun D1 games, and probably the most important game to them is that game against South Dakota State.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, taking a trip to Hawaii is cool.
Cool, it's fun. Yeah,
taking a trip to Nebraska is cool.
Yeah,
but man, it's a school that, I think he hit it on the head. Like the athletic department, the athletic department, right? You know, basketball. And just generally the athletic department. A lot of kids from the Omaha area have gone there over the years. I think they have 3 or 4 on their roster coming up for this fall, just from the quick glance that I saw just now. But their football program hasn't necessarily, it's just kind of been a middling Missouri Valley FCS type of program. But that's no shame in a league that is the SEC of the FCS.
It's a grind.
It is. It really is. You're going to play a national championship contending type of team, a whole bunch of weeks throughout the season. So you got to kind of figure out who you are a little bit. I was trying to remember some times where there's one Iowa game. I think they put a really bad scare into Iowa one year. Maybe they beat them. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. I could see the old school BTN score bug on the bottom of my head. They either put a really, really bad scare into them or beat them at Kinnick a number of years ago now. I'd have to go back and take a deeper dive and look at their schedule. But they've gotten some, and then obviously have taken their lumps as well. I'm being told 2012, Northern Iowa beat Iowa. That's what I'm told here. Josh, can you confirm this?
Trying to.
Okay. Let's see. 2012, they lost. Wow, they lost to Wisconsin, and they lost to Iowa. They lost to Wisconsin by less than a touchdown. Wow, in 2012, Wisconsin was really good. And then they lost to Iowa by 11, 27-16. Iowa won, kind of pulled away late. And they ended up going 5-6 that year, but they put some scares into some people. They put a scare into North Dakota State as well. So that's the type of program that could do that to you. I don't know. So if you're looking for a path, they could scare you a little bit.
Lost at Iowa State in 2011 by a single point.
Yeah. So they've scared everybody else. Can you recall a Nebraska Northern Iowa matchup? Has that happened?
Beat Iowa State in 2013.
Let's see if there's a Nebraska Northern Iowa. Boy. This is going to be a deep dive.
I don't think Northern Iowa qualifies for Winsipedia.
No. I don't think they have played each other, now that I think about it. But anyway. All right, let's take a break. Thanks to JW. That was good. Kind of scary. Air raid? Ugh. Hopefully it's really windy that day.
Oh, yeah.
Destroy South Stadium so we can ruin UNI's chances. Make it wind tunnel again. We got a couple more. Oh, we haven't mentioned a team this segment, by the way.
Whew, that was close.
I know.
What do you want to do here?
Well, I think it's probably best that we just rip off the 2002 Miami football team.
Oh, okay.
So Josh requested this, Josh Peterson.
I mean, this is just
So I assume by 2002 he actually means 2001, right? The 2000 the team that they beat Nebraska in the national championship game.
Yeah, the
Rose Bowl.
The first Larry Coker team, right?
Would it have been the first Larry Coker team? Yes, the first Larry Coker team. That is correct.
I mean,
yes, 2001. I'm almost sure that's what he's talking about. So there's a lot of guys with NFL shields next to him. Ken Dorsey, Clinton Portis, Najee Davenport, Willis McGahee, Frank Gore, Jarrett Payton, Andre Johnson, Daryl Jones, Jeremy Shockey, Kellen Winslow, Bryant McKinney, Andrew Williams, William Joseph, Jerome McDougal, Vince Wilfork, Jonathan Vilma, DJ Williams, Daryl McClover, Philip Buchanan, Ed Reed, Mike Rumpf, Antrell Roll.
I preferred Samari Roll.
All have the NFL shield next to
Mark Stoops, defensive backs coach.
I was definitely interested in, as a child, in tight end at Miami, Jeremy Shockey.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on here? This guy seems kind of insane.
That guy, in hindsight, probably ahead of his time.
It's funny though. I mean, these teams, that team, we knew it was obviously really, really good at the time, and they won the national championship. But this is a team. This is an example of a team that has aged very well.
Yes,
because all of their players ended up in the NFL and had success in the NFL. They were either number 2 or number 1 in the AP poll every single week of the 2001 season before they crushed Nebraska in the national championship. Had a couple scares in there.
Yeah, Boston College scared them. Virginia Tech scared
Virginia
them.
Tech. I remember the Virginia Tech one for sure. That was
last game of the regular season.
That Miami Virginia Tech game used to be so big at the end of every year. Gosh, those games were so much fun. Should we just do the 2001 Virginia Tech team too? Could be fun.
Yeah.
Grant Noel was their starting quarterback. You remember that name?
No.
I don't get that one either. I didn't quite get that one. Kevin Jones was their running back. Keith Burnell.
D'Angelo Hall at corner.
Gonna get some wide receivers. Andre Davis. Jarrett Ferguson. Jarrett Ferguson. I feel like I remember the name Jarrett Ferguson. Anyway, naming guys. It's fun. And we somehow got to 2001 Virginia Tech who went 8-4. All right, we take a quick timeout. We'll be back after this on 1620 The Zone. per Steven Sipple's request, a look at the 1994-1995 Detroit Pistons, also coached by Don Chaney.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Also, rostered Allen Houston. Couple connecting lines there, little through lines.
Yeah.
Leading scorer for the 1994-1995 Detroit Pistons was a young spry boy named Grant Hill, who averaged 20 points a game. Joe Dumars, Terry Mills, Allen Houston, Oliver Miller, Raphael Addison, Mark West, Lindsey Hunter, Johnny Dawkins, 31-year-old Johnny Dawkins, Mark Macon, Nigel Knight. Sorry if I got that wrong. I never heard of that guy before. Let's see. Eric Lechner, Bill Curley, Walter Bond, Mike Peplowski, and Ivano Nubil. That rounds out the roster for the 1994-1995 Detroit Pistons. Don Chaney, that was his last year. That was his last year coaching the Pistons. Before he went off and coached, he was an assistant for the Knicks for a few years after that, and then took over the Knicks completely. After that, Doug Collins took over the next year for the Pistons, and they ended up being a lot better immediately. They won many, many more games.
That Pistons team only had winning records against the Sixers and the Bullets that season,
Nice.
and those are the two teams that finished below them in the Eastern Conference.
One quick one for college basketball sickos. The 95-96 Detroit Pistons rostered a young man by the name of Steven Bardo. Steven Bardo. He of Big Ten basketball fame. Gosh, he had a just short career in the NBA. And he played for 9 games for the Pistons in that year.
That team was a 7 seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs that year.
How about that? Took him straight to the playoffs. Way to go, Doug Collins. Doing it again. Also, Theo Ratliff was on that team as a rookie. Nice. Steven Bardo. He's probably thinking about telling one of his teammates that they don't know how good they are yet. You don't even know how good you could be.
I wonder if as a player you have the same, you don't need a 3 here mentality. Or if guys are just like, I'm a baller, I'm going to chuck it.
I love when announcers say you don't need a 3 here. You don't need a 3? Oh, really? You don't need a 3 here?
It's 9 seconds
I
left.
will say, though, is it like having the experience of sitting right there at a high intensity basketball game, because that's when that comes out from announcers, right? You don't need a 3 here. You don't need a 3 here. You are not really. You're saying that for yourself, right? You're just saying that to yourself. It's almost a way to calm down your emotions. It's almost like a deep breath. Like sometimes I'll just find myself sitting there watching Creighton games or Nebraska games or whatever, and I'll just go, push my hands out, slow down, hoping that they hear me in some way, shape, or form, but they won't.
Oh, something's happening.
Something's happening. They know what's best. Here's from Dennis Dodd yesterday.
Hi, Dennis.
How the NCAA's proposal to let the Power Four form its own governing body would change all of college sports. So this is, once again, you'll hear it in the story, definitely not splitting off. Definitely not splitting off.
Not splitting
off.
Good. I was worried they would. It would make a lot of sense if they did.
Late last month, NCAA President Charlie Baker presented to the NCAA Council a structure for a separate governing body involving the 4 power conferences. That's right. Did you hear that? The president of the NCAA said, maybe this is a good idea. Maybe you guys should make your own rules over here.
Maybe you guys should go.
In its rudimentary form at this point, the initiative should be considered one of the most dramatic shifts in Power Four's desire for more control since autonomy debuted in the months following the 2014 NCAA convention. That began the process toward cost of attendance and then gave Power 5 more legislative leverage. As we remember, the I mean, we even see a little bit of that inside the power conferences where the Big Ten and the SEC are demanding extra playoff spots and more revenue share and something like that. But apparently they have not gotten enough power. Yahoo Sports reported last month that Baker revealed a new governance structure to all 32 Division I commissioners during the annual summer meetings in Naples. And Jen Frazier from the Division I, from college, from the NCAA managing director, assisted in the presentation. Sources indicated that there was acrimony and concern among smaller conferences when it became evident that the structure would favor the Power Four. The initiative continues. A person with knowledge of the latest NCAA council meeting told CBS Sports this was one of the more compelling presentations just in terms of reality of where we are in college sports. So basically, the Division I commissioners don't want the Division III commissioners to be able to vote on their crap that has to do with them. And the Division III commissioners don't want every single rule in the rule book to be geared toward Division I commissioners.
Right.
And so they're like, hey, we're going to stand up for ourselves here. Like, we have equal representation on this 32-person board, so we're going to say our piece here. And finally, the Division I and Division II people are like, okay, enough. Currently, only 14 of the 40 members in the council are from Power Four conferences. The concern among those power conferences is that council members who had no stake in an issue had the power to vote it up or down. CBS Sports put the subject to one powerful Power Four administrator this way, quote, "You essentially don't want Division III presidents voting on roster caps," which is the discussion going on right now. And that person said, yes, correct. That is exactly what we're talking about. So once again, definitely not a split off. Definitely not a split off. That's definitely not happening. Yes. Yeah, this is definitely a split off.
No, it said it right there in the story. Not a split off.
It did, like somebody wrote that somewhere. I think it was in Dodd's tweet. I couldn't believe it. I was like, because I saw this last night going around, and it was from Dennis Dodd's initial tweet, and it said, now I, of course, lost it. But when he linked to the story, he was like, yeah, the commissioners want to say that this is not a split off or whatever. And I'm like, yep, okay. Thank you for saying that, but it's absolutely not the truth.
It's a split off.
It's definitely a split off. One more legislation piece real quick here. I know this is all we talk about all summer long, so it's probably pretty annoying. So yesterday we bring you the story about how they're increasing, looking ahead to scholarship numbers, and they're looking for baseball. And most people think that roster limit is going to land in between 32 and 35. And we thought, okay, how does a school like Nebraska kind of handle this? We know how the SEC schools are going to handle it. They're going to offer 35 full scholarships if they have the ability to do so, and they'll pour all the money into baseball that they could possibly get. For a school like Nebraska, or maybe that's not as good of an example for a school like Creighton, I guess. How much money do they decide to want to pour into this and help out athletes, and like how much can they pay for is a question. And the answer for most of those schools is not much more than they're currently paying for right now. And so Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball asked a variety of different people from around the sport at all different levels about what this would kind of mean. Here's Eric Bakich, the Clemson coach, formerly at Michigan. College baseball has historically been synonymous with student loan debt. Any increase in scholarships is a huge win for the sport. I'm over the moon about this news. I'm ecstatic to hear there's going to be more scholarship availability for baseball players. We have a long history of taking out sizable loans to cover the costs of college. On the flip side, there's always been disparity between who even fully funds the 11.7 to facilities, to financial aid, to NIL. That's just part of college baseball, so it's only natural there continues to be a gap in who can fund it. That is correct. At least they have the ability to do so. Now, will this lead to a larger gap in the sport that we have right now? Yes. Yes. A group of 5 athletic director told D1 Baseball, quote, if it lands in the mid-30s, it'll be tough for us to offer full scholarships to the entire roster. I think it'll be tough even for some Power 4 teams to do it. I agree, especially if you're in the Big Ten and you don't have to care about baseball because nobody else cares about baseball. You're going to do what the people around you do. But the G5 AD said, quote, but I'll say this. You've seen a concerted effort from the group of 5 schools over the last 5 to 10 years to really invest in baseball and softball. We view the Diamond Sports as our best chance to compete and defeat the power schools. We will ensure we invest at level, allowing us to continue to do those 2 things. Yeah, it's going to be harder when the big boys got 35 scholarships and they're paying for all of it and they're all getting NIL and might be hard to recruit.
Yeah.
Got to develop. We'll take a quick timeout. We'll be back with the polls. We'll tell you what to watch. We'll get you out of here on a Friday on 1620 The Zone.
Pineapple.
All right, one more random team. We got this a couple hours ago, so I apologize for making you wait here. The 1995 Super Bowl losers, the San Diego Chargers.
Ooh.
So that's from the 94 season. Went 11-5. Beat the Dolphins in the divisional round, beat the Steelers in the AFC Championship game and lost. Got drilled by the Niners in the Super Bowl. Offensive coordinator Ralph Friedgen, by the way. Man, in the random teams that we've looked at today, I don't know that I know fewer names than on this one. Quarterback Stan Humphries.
Jeff Brom on the roster as well.
Really?
Yeah.
This is before his XFL endeavors?
It appears so.
Jeff Brom? No. No. Jeff Brom would not. No. The Chargers?
Yeah.
95?
The 94-95 team that went to the Super Bowl.
Where are you seeing this?
Wikipedia.
And do we trust Wikipedia? Did he play quarterback? Is that what?
Yeah.
Is that what the Wikipedia is making you believe?
Yeah. His name is italicized. He was a rookie.
I see 4 people who threw a pass that year for the Chargers. So he must have been a practice squad guy.
Maybe.
Okay. All right.
I see a running back 2 running backs whose names I know.
Eric Bieniemy.
Uh-huh.
What was the other one?
Natron Means Business.
Natron Means, yeah. The elsewhere on this team, their leading wide receiver. Let's see, in terms of yards, Tony Martin. Okay. You go to the defense, and obviously you have Junior Seau. John Perella, former Husker, was on this defense.
A defensive lineman named Reggie White, not that Reggie White.
That could not have been Reggie White. No. Nice. I mean, they're. I'm not much of a football sicko. I wish I was.
I mean,
I'm not.
Junior Seau was on there. I don't know if we mentioned him.
I did mention Junior Seau.
Okay.
This is the one guy on defense I knew about.
Okay,
Yes.
Sorry, I was looking and reading at the same time.
I did mention Junior Seau. Who would have been their kicker that year? Let's see. John Carney. Now, if there is an area where I am a bit of a football sicko, it's with old NFL kickers. Yeah, that's true.
The Chargers Week 1 game was on TNT.
Hell yeah, it was.
I just want to bring that up.
To the polls at Happer Show. Was Carlos Quentin imposing? Yes.
Having looked at him, I saw pictures of him while we were talking about it. Yes.
Yeah, look at him in the box.
Yeah.
He's even more imposing.
Takes up the whole box.
57% say no. And the other poll question was, did you know that Hello Kitty was actually a little girl? I did not.
No.
And I actually don't believe them. 59% say yes.
Oh, get out of here.
Almost. It might be an impossible proposition to get like over 80% no on any poll question. We'll have to put that to the test one day. Those are the polls. Josh, what are we watching tonight?
We are watching Major League Baseball.
Baseball.
It is back. MLB.tv is free all weekend long. We've got our Friday night games on Apple TV. Tonight it is Tigers Blue Jays up north, 6 o'clock on Apple TV. It's also on tomorrow afternoon on ESPN Plus. A different game, not like a replay of that game tonight. Padres Guardians, also 6 o'clock tonight on Apple TV. Diamondbacks and the Cubs, 6 o'clock Saturday night on Big Fox. Brewers Twins, your Roku game of the week at noon on Sunday. And Sunday Night Baseball goes to Chavez Ravine as the Dodgers host the Red Sox. 15 NBA Summer League games in Vegas this weekend before we whittle the field down. I don't know, there's some sort of tournament and then a champion is crowned or something like that. All-Star Weekend in Phoenix for the WNBA, Connor. Tonight's the skills competition, 3-point shootout.
We got to get to that Caitlin Clark thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, Monday is going to be prime to get to the Caitlin Clark thing because Saturday night, ABC, 7:30, Team USA versus Team WNBA. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese team up to defeat America. Ratings will be huge.
I would argue that they already have.
7 o'clock tonight on Big Fox. WWE SmackDown is in your very own hometown, Omaha, Nebraska.
The plane is here, according to sources.
Yeah, sources on the ground are telling me this. 7 o'clock on NBC, Inspiring America, Team USA. My man Lester Time, Savannah Guthrie, and Hoda Kotb sit down with the biggest names at this year's Summer Olympics. And finally, Connor, a new movie to stream on Disney Plus, The Young Woman in the Sea. You see, there's a book called The Old Man in the Sea.
I get it.
Okay. American swimming champ Gertrude Ederle, played by Star Wars' Daisy Ridley, becomes the first woman to swim 21 miles across the English Channel. I bet a lot of people told her not to do it before she got in the water, and she persevered through all of it.
Look at that. Look at that. Also, I saw a Lester Time interview with President B the other day.
How'd that go?
He was asking him some very
biased and pointed
just some questions that I never thought would be asked. You know, like
asked of anyone or of a sitting president.
Of a sitting president.
Okay.
Like, do you have all your faculties and things like
I'm on the horse.
He's like, no, I'm on. Yeah. He has those if you're doing like a Biden impression, you'd have to like randomly just outburst at times. He'll kind of lull you to sleep and he'll just say, I'm on the horse.
That's how he gets you. He lulls you and then he hopes he can knock you over.
Josh, thanks.
Thank you, Connor.
That's the week. If you missed anything, 1620thezone.com is where you can find it. That stands for not just today, but all of the days. Crossovers next.